demonstrations of power. So I know what it means in regard to power, right? So I'm comparing it to that. And I said, okay, should be something that we should be able to manifest with ourselves. If these are, we're utilizing, we're working with the right codes, okay? And your intention is really everything in regard to this. When more you step outside of these reality fields and see who you really are, you realize everything is really created with that. So your power transcends the idea of the manipulation of the codes and everything. The idea is awakening to your power and being able to come together collectively with the same intention is really what the objective is for what I've been doing here and wanting to do. It's not about getting together and singing. It's not about coming together necessarily and learning, because you already know all this stuff. You just need to be reminded of what you understand, what you connect with.
So how do we
I come
begin?
from a different soul family. You do too. We all do. Okay. So we all have a different background, but on a spirit level, we're all connected. There's nothing that is being done necessarily new. It's reminding you of the things that you do know. And what you do know, you hold true to, and everything else, you could just toss it out. It doesn't matter. For me, like in regard to the function as co-creative, unifying uh, position to be taken here for me is real simple. Is it for the benefit of all life, truly? And you can see the demonstration of that within, use the expression, the fruit that it bears, right?
Yeah.
And so the intention behind it, and if you align with that, it's like, okay, that's for me, that's it. I don't need to know all the things that you know, and you don't need to know all the things.
Yeah.
We just need to come together within that simple respect and agreement for what that is, and work with one another and have one another's backs, and come into unity in regard to our conscious intention. And that's where manifestation starts to occur. So that's what really this is all about. I mentioned this as we opened this, but it's truly what it is, So whatever we're doing, we're moving towards our sovereignty again, right? We're regaining more of who we are within this incarnation. We're bringing it more of that into this vessel, Eventually it'll start curing and healing and not, on all levels. Okay.
Thank
And
God.
so, yeah, that's really what this is all about. For me, that's why I'm doing this, because I know that we're not really working with one another. We need to, not just hanging out and talking. We have to have a common goal, and work. And hence, I'm sorry for belaboring this, but hence the reason why I've been doing all this preparation and all this work. So it's like, okay, here is a system that we can follow together, and give it time so that it can build up and everybody does their own due diligence. And so then when we do come together, we're all on the same page, and we're just like, okay, we're like a task force. We're going to put it into motion, and we work as a, well-oiled team, using all these metaphors, but you understand with what I'm saying. And that's important, because the time for just questions being answered is over with. It's been over with for quite a long time, actually. It's knowing what you know and coming together with one another and doing it. Your purpose is known within you. No one needs to tell you what that is. You know what it is because you're doing it right now. While you're here, you're not. See, what's interesting is that what I've noticed over the years for myself and the idea of processing information, you think that you know certain things at a certain point, and you do. You come through a certain experience and you have an understanding of what that is. And but over time, lengthy periods of time, if allowed, you realize that you didn't know what you thought you knew because it took time for you to come to that understanding. You needed processing for it. So everybody has that to its different degree, right? In regard to why they're here. You have what you have. You don't know everything yet, and it's not important that you do. It's just continuing forward is what matters, and that's what you're doing right now. So we're all at this stage, from what I can see, for those who showed up, are in the same agreement. You
It's
know,
funny that you say that about just showing up and moving forward, because I actually was writing that today, something very similar along those lines with exactly what you're saying.
yeah, it becomes synchronistic in one way or form or the other. It starts to just align one's intentions with one another, while keeping one's individuation very clearly.
Sure. It's good to see everybody too. Nice to
Yeah.
see you. Okay.
Sorry for I was in the middle
Julia,
of just kind of
Axel, Daphne,
trying to go with the
David.
flow as
Yo,
I'm
yo.
able. So yeah,
I would like
it's
to
good to have
ask,
everybody here. So I see that Daphne decided to go ahead push record 5 minutes and 50 seconds ago. So um,
may I?
we're off and
Hey,
running. Yes,
Randy.
let us begin. Sure.
I wanted to ask the participants if they are practicing on a daily basis or weekly basis the techniques, and how is it going with all the techniques that Randy was posting.
I have
Well,
not been practicing. I've been reading. I've been reading them, and for me, I just feel comfortable doing them when I know exactly what's going on, and then it sparks something up in me.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's about, again, sorry for being long-winded, but it's about aligning your attention. If there's a process everybody has to do that. I'm the same way. Okay, I'm the same exact way when it comes to something, especially if it's something new to me or whatever like that. It's not that I don't understand. It's not that you don't understand it. You're just allowing it to process, to use that word again. You're allowing it to process, right? So that's essential, you know. So whatever you're doing, as long as you use the word moving forward with it, then it's exactly the way it should be, for you.
That's why I painted the picture that I sent you,
Yeah, it was very
because
nice.
I was trying to. It's the first time I started understanding the code, going over your Cobbs of shorts for the third time. I was like, holy cow, this is pretty cool. So thanks. David, you were going to say something.
yeah, to answer your question, I practice as much as I can all the time if I can. So if I can just put that into perspective, just driving around, I try to drop into a meditative state and breathe. Because sometimes just breathing, taking the in breath, taking it in, holding it, letting it out, and an expansion, you can do that throughout the day, all day, every day. You don't need a special time or a place to sit down and practice. And I find that in the breath, breathing in, holding it, letting it out, expanding it, and feeling that warmth. The more I do that, the easier it comes. And more specifically, you can do it at any stage. But I get so fucking tired. I'm getting, the more I practice, the more I take these things on, I get so tired. And it's just, you've got to find that space. So whereas I say I practice all the time, there then becomes a point where I'm exhausted. And I have to sit down and just accept the day for what it is and just be tired. And then when I get some more energy, I practice it again, just breathing in, holding it, letting it out, and we can all do that.
Yeah,
The more you practice it,
yeah.
the more
You're giving space to hold. We remember, I don't know if we were talking about this last time about the wine sack. Using I use a lot of metaphors. It's just easier to understand in some cases. But like the wine sack, you're making room for the energy in the body. So there's a transmutation, even though it's on a very low level, it's taking place, and that's the reason why your body's getting tired. And especially if, now I'll give you an example as far as some of the things that have happened to me, but I could go back quite a ways, but I'll try to be contemporary with it. When I'm looking at something new, it's not that it's difficult to understand.
Yeah.
It's just now I'm holding energy And next thing I know, I'm just like, I feel like I'm on a drug. I'm so tired, you
Yeah.
know? And
Really?
it happened to me yesterday. I was looking at what I was talking about in regard to, looking at see, when you, especially when it's funny, especially when you go down the avenue about something that is really the root of the problem here, which is the constructs arrangement mathematically, right? That it's not a real math, that it's actually just spells that are being cast. And when you go down that road and look at it, my experience has been when it comes to something like that, I get tired really quick. You know, when I first experienced that, seeing things or things opening up to me like that, the implants start going off in me like crazy. And it shut me down for months at a time, you know, seriously. And so it's not easy dealing with these things and moving forward here. A lot of times the expression that I've used is like swimming through, you know, boiled molasses. It's really thick and it's hard to kind of make your way through it. It's really dense in here, and there is a whole lot that's contending with your movement forward, especially when you get on the track of things that really matter, you know, not just going through the motions, but actually really matter. That's been my experience. So it's interesting that you would say that, you know, David, you would talk about that, because that's an important thing that everybody should know, that if they don't know that, there's a potential of you experiencing that, and just take it for what it's worth and move forward as you're able, you know, take rest, do what you need to do, hold your space, and just relax and let go, you know, release, be in that space. And then once you're able to come back to it, you come back to it when you're able. And like what, you know, Brian was talking about, he's looking, he's observing, he's absorbing. And as he's able to move to the next stage, then he responds to it. That is the proper way to go about doing it. You know, for each individual, it should be that way, whatever that may be. You know. Is everybody have access or want something that might be in the Patreon that's not there? I mean, that's relative to what we're going to be, what the agenda, or should I say, what the curriculum
Itinerary.
is for what we're looking to do here. I mean, can you find everything that I have posted here recently?
Yeah.
Any suggestions or anything like that I would be able to
Have
do?
to mull that over and think about it.
Was there anything new in the email today that wasn't in the emails from the last two workshops? Because I just went to the link. Was in a hurry. Was there anything new?
The last thing I did was, as far as the video that I put up, it had to do with the Maharic seal and moving it into Tribal Shield, explaining that. Actually, the video prior to that goes into a little bit more explanation, perhaps, and then there was a little bit more demonstration as an example within the following video. So
Yeah, I saw that.
That showed up in the. Did it show up for everybody in their emails? Because I make sure that at least I. Okay.
Yes.
By the way, I just want to say hello. First time jumping on. I haven't met anybody here yet, so.
Hi, Joseph.
Hello. What's your name?
Josepha.
Josepha?
Josepha, yes.
David,
Based out of
That's a cool
Australia.
name.
Thank you. Yeah, my
It's great to have you here. I recognize the name, but it's nice to be able to put a face to it. So thank you.
big fan of your work, man. Like, I honestly appreciate what you're doing, and I just intuitively felt like I needed to jump on. I haven't really explored a lot of the Quantic sciences, but I've just really felt a strong connection with some of the things that you're sharing. So appreciate what you're doing, and glad to meet everybody in the group.
I just.
Where are you, Josepha? Where are you?
I'm in Australia.
Australia.
Yeah.
Good morning.
So are you?
G'day, mate.
Are you familiar with George Kasavaslis there?
I've seen some of his stuff. Yeah, haven't met the man yet, but we're I guess relative in Australia. Well, you're in America, so you'd know. He's a couple states ahead of above where I'm at, but big fan of his work too.
Yeah, I like George. Yeah,
Yeah, nice.
yeah, lots happening there where you're at. Would you like to talk a little bit about what's going on there? Because that seems to be a hot spot right now, at least from
Is it?
my feeling is that there's a lot going on there. Are you privy to some things that that you're there that's taking place?
Well, I'll definitely share like my personal experience, but I'd love to hear what you have to say because, funnily enough, the last 3 months has been a period of completely detaching from the outside world. I've been in my own like little healing space.
Okay, great.
But yeah, like the whole COVID stuff was a huge wake up for everyone, but for me, it was more like, oh wow, not everyone gets it, like, or at least not everyone's willing to kind of move intuitively with what they feel is right, but they're being told something different, so they'd rather follow what they're being told to do rather than what they're being kind of led to do. So that was a really strong wake up call, and I actually left Australia because it got quite intense. It was suffocating, man. Like that was the best way of saying it. It was really suffocating. This where I'm at now was the kind of the worst place in Australia. At the time, I used to smoke quite a bit, and so I had a smoker's cough. And I felt like I was Noah parting the Red Sea because I would have a smoker's cough, and people would like friggin' teleport to the other side of the street that I was at, and I was like, something's going on. And I was aware of like metaphysical. I had a kind of I was aware of things spiritually, so I knew that this was a big play coming in. I didn't know what, but I kind of felt in Melbourne it was going to be pretty crazy. So I left, and it felt like the great escape. The day that I left Melbourne, they literally closed borders, and then shortly after that, they went through a lockdown where they couldn't leave, and et cetera, et cetera. Not to belabor the point, but that kind of for me was just like, if anything, it was a great kind of thing or message to say, look, you've been exploring kind of these spiritual topics and perhaps not diving in fully, but you see where the world's going, so you might as well kind of just follow because this is kind of like, if you weren't following any of these things, or if you weren't open to these things, this is what happened. This is what some people were believing. But I spent a year overseas in Mexico. That was amazing. To come back to Melbourne last year, where we went from being so incredibly kind of in this period of lockdown and buying into everything that was going on to now people pretending like it didn't happen at all. And moreover, the last couple of months, I kind of completely detached. So when you asked about what's been going on the last few months, I can't really say I know per se. I do know that there's like a collective awakening that's happening in Australia, but a lot of times I'm kind of seeing some things maybe not so practical. And a lot of the stuff that I'm hearing from a lot of people is just regurgitated kind of superficial spirituality. And I say that not with any judgment, but more so it's just kind of the same rhetoric that you hear that doesn't necessarily have any practical skills. But, I just kind of would like to hear what you're personally observing is happening, because I'm feeling there's a shift happening, but because I've just been in a container, I don't know what practically or what actually is happening on the ground.
Yeah, there's obviously there's a whole lot of different agendas being manifest and exposed, just a whole lot of everything, and personally for myself as well, I see things, but I usually ignore most of it because it's not relevant to what I'm doing,
Mhm.
and I think everybody can share the same thing. You have an awareness, and especially if you've been living it for a very long time and boots on the ground, as I would like to express it, to where it's practical. I mean, demonstration of it. It's not about knowledge. Knowledge without wisdom doesn't mean anything. It's just entertaining one another with words, right? And especially within this field that we're in, because everything is orchestrated within alteration. The math that we have here, again, to emphasize that the math that we have here is not math. It is command codes at the end of it is talismans, and we're casting spells for the benefit of particular agendas to put it into motion, you know. So it's about intention that really matters, and for it to be, you know, applicable to what you're doing. And if it's, you know, it's like trudging. A lot of times for me, it has been, and it continues to be. I don't pay attention to it much anymore. I'm just in the moment, but it's likened unto swimming through molasses that's been boiled down. You know, it's quite thick, and it's quite, it's quite the marathon to try to move through some of this stuff because it's so dense and it's so heavy. And you know, then there's a whole lot of other things that go along with that, which I won't go into. It's not really essential. It's about staying on track and being focused in regard to wherever how much energy that you can put into it. Again, the way we were talking about earlier, I don't know if you got this before you showed up, but the experience that people have when you're looking to move forward with your understanding, and you're preparing yourself for the next stage of what you're able to do, and you want to, and like what Brian was talking about, and I totally relate with this. Sometimes I'll be immediately, and I'm creating out of a vacuum, so to speak. But there's other times where if I'm doing something, especially when it has something to do with a collective of people involved, everybody has to be all on the same page. And it's about developing it so that everybody can be on the same page with their intention. They don't have to be on the same page in regard to what they know, because everybody's going to know what they're going to know. So that's not essential. But to be able to do that, that takes time for me. And I have to, it takes quite a while for me to get to a certain place where it's like, okay, I'll move to this. Like with what I'm doing here, this is about a year or so of putting it together, and 40 years before that to this point. Okay, so it's always a process, and certain things are different in regard to that, depending on what it is. And again, to emphasize, especially when you're dealing with people that you're coming together as a collective with the same intention, it takes a while to orchestrate and direct in order so that everybody's on the same page, and everybody's expressing their free will. Their yes is yes and their no is no, you know. And so, yeah, it's definitely a process, and there's enough to maintain your trying to hold one's focus rather than be distracted by what all the drama and traffic that's going on outside of you. I'm not really too much interested in the phenomenon, like, you know, I mentioned earlier about the idea of, is this a fixed reality? You know, in other words, is it a plane? Meaning, is it flat Earth, as what people were saying? Or, it doesn't matter to me. I don't care. You know, I really don't care. It's more about why I'm here, and co-creating with others on the same page of why we're here. And for me, it's for the benefit of all life. And do I think that we can change this reality field? And 100% yes. Otherwise, I wouldn't have jumped in. You know, I wouldn't have jumped into this pool. You know, all those things were pre-planned before I got here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing. And here's the thing, and everybody would ask the questions like, what is their purpose? Well, you're doing it. You know, you're here, you've been asking certain questions so that you can remember what you had known and affirm that. And so be confident in that and just keep moving forward. Whatever your process is, how long that takes, doesn't matter. It's not compared to anybody else. It is, but you're now doing it. So you're doing the act of the reason why you're here. And that's really what it's all about, so that we can manifest in demonstration of power. It can't be word only. Word doesn't mean anything. There's a whole lot of people talking, you know. It just goes, it becomes a point of entertainment, doesn't it? I mean, we're just it's like, let's go to the next thing, you know. I used the metaphor before about the dog having a bone in its mouth and running to and fro, and it goes to this pond and it sees the reflection of the bone in its mouth, and it opens its mouth to get the reflection of the bone, and it loses what it has. This is the internet experience, you know. This is mostly what people do. They don't remember what they did before. I had people that I mentored. I don't even like that word, but you know, it's got to use some kind of word, for a long period of time, and they would just keep dropping the bone, you know, to the point where it's all the things that you said before was just words that fall to the ground. You know, it that's very exhausting, and it does a number on you. It really, well, it does for me. It, I mean, because when I give all that I got. What you see is what you get. You know, if you can see into my field, you know that I'm giving everything that I have. And so it's important that it is beneficial, you know. And when it comes back to you as an unbeneficial result, that's because it goes back to the programming that exists here, you know, and the math and everything, and living under these spells and blah 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 and yada yada yada. It's reconditioning, and just like you were referring to earlier about the status quo, almost just quoting out of programming in regard to a certain movement. People regurgitating what somebody else said. It's not authentic to themselves. You can tell, right?
Yeah.
And they're under a spell. Even it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
you know. It's what it is. And the idea of here is that we break the spell, right? And then we start demonstrating in power. You know, we start working like we did prior to coming into this construct, which was collectively. You know, it's normal for us to work collectively. You know,
Hell yeah.
you know, it's not about brand or any of that stuff. It's about who we are as immortal spiritual beings, and the reason for us manifesting, you know, with this incarnation. So, yeah, we don't need to know everything, but within word, it's more important to be able to do things in deed, right? So,
Yep.
yeah, demonstration of power, and we're moving at our own pace, and it's being available to one another in order for that to happen, you know?
Completely agree, man. Completely agree. And yeah, just want to say grateful to be part of the group. Part of the group.
Well, thank you for being here. It's great.
Cheers.
So is anything that anybody wants to go on with it? Because I really had no exact direction with this. Otherwise, I'd be at my keyboard. So I decided just wanted to hear where everybody was at, and figure out what's the next step that everybody, any questions, anything you have to say at all, doesn't really matter. Anything that you have input about anything thus far, because, you know, this is obviously just the beginning stages for what we're doing. And so I just want us to be able to stay on track and everybody be comfortable with what they're doing and assured of what they're doing. Okay.
So
Brian
I guess
has
the
said
only question was about last week, since some of us went to the wrong link. Like,
Yeah,
I know
sorry
you
about that.
posted that video, so if we watched that video, are we caught up then, or?
No, that, no, just think of this as basically just each time that we get together, think of it as starting over, but not literally starting over. The information's already there within Patreon and so on and so forth, but it's just about regathering ourselves together and say, okay, energetically and being on the same page, you know, and eventually the point is where when we start doing this collectively in more of a unified way, if you know what I'm talking about, if you follow the curriculum that I've been creating, you know what I'm referring to. We're just kind of getting our footing, you know, that's the whole thing. So if anything that you want to bring up, anything that you need to bring up, anything you have questions about, any solutions, any whatever that relates to what we're doing, it's very important that everybody feel comfortable to be able to say whatever they want to say in order for that to be clear. For
Randy,
Yeah.
I think Brian has left because he had his hand up,
Oh,
and I think he was ignored and he
oh,
left.
you know, I'll do that. I'm sorry. I'm not ignoring anybody, but I'm just staring at, I'm not even looking at anybody really. I'm just staring so that I can just kind of keep my concentration in what's going on. So I'm just looking at, everybody's going to, I'm holding my own space. Okay. So everybody has to hold their own space in that regard. And there's other ways to contact, like through.
Randy, I don't think Brian went for that reason, because you did have.
Probably had to
And
do
I
something, whatever, but
noticed
I'm going to go ahead and hold. Can you give me a second? I'll reach out to him real quick.
Yeah, but he got his hand up, but he was offered an
I didn't even see that. So, okay.
He could have jumped in, like
Yeah.
I'm jumping in now. Here's a question to the whole group. Do you think we'll ever meet up face to face? Because I don't like online. And I do like meeting face to face. And in this entire time, in all these communities that we've all been part of, or partially part of. Never met a single person, not once. I mean, I'm not so but I mean, I've never met anyone face to face, and it'd be such a great opportunity because, like, in our day to day, you meet people and you give so much, and you can't, you hold back so much of your own truth because if you speak to people the way you think, they'll think you're bloody mad. So you can never really speak your truth. So you just speak partially, and then you bump into people and you might say a bit more than you should have done, and then you go back and think, I wish I hadn't have said that. Because now you're all thinking it, so you must feel it. And we've all been, to some degree, outcasts in all of us' lives. In our families, we've all got trauma in the back of our families. We've all got the same thing, but we never meet up. And it's such a sadness for me because it'd be just great to just,
Well, yeah, that's really what this is about. Eventually, that's the whole idea, is to get under the same roof.
love to.
Yeah.
And not just not like a one-time thing. And again, to emphasize what was talked, or what I had mentioned or try to communicate clearly in the first meeting, was this is meant for people within their own location to be able to take what's here, what I'm looking to present, and try to communicate it in a way that becomes a conviction of their own, where they're doing it in their own community. They're doing it boots on the ground, because it has to be really, honestly, it has to be. This here is like a tool. It's a great tool. It's an awesome tool. But the real work is going to be done within your own community, your own home or homes. And it's under the same roof, because your electromagnetic fields amplify the energy when you're collectively together. You know, you get a residual effect with the online experience, but it's not the same thing. And the reason why I say that is because I experienced this. I know this to be true. And it's one of the missing aspects, at least from what I could see, in regard to the equation when we're looking at this online thing. People have dropped it as being a tool and substitute it for that. And you can't substitute it, you know? And so it requires, again, to go emphasize the idea of our own sovereign will, right? And standing in the gravity of our own shoes, to where we are able to make that decision once we have the ability to do it and have the confidence within ourselves to be able to do it within our own community and our own home. We have to take, you know, our sovereign sense of self needs to rise up to the occasion. And that's really what this is really about. So the idea of eventually us coming together collectively as a group here, maybe like once a year or something, but ultimately it's about everybody doing it in their own country, state, or whatever it may be, their providence, you know, location, because it's the transformation of boots on the ground. The energy has to disperse itself from where you live. And
we're not even popular with our friends. We're not even popular.
Oh no, no. See, it's not about getting friends together, because I've had people that I've known for a long time, and one of the best, my best friend that I had was over 50 years, you know, and we grew up together, and he left this reality field. Good for him. His body couldn't handle it here any longer. And so he left, but he didn't even understand what I was trying to do.
No,
you know, so it's not about anybody that you choose to co-create with. It doesn't work that way. You're able to co-create with those who've been preparing themselves or are prepared, and they show up. Showing up is so important. So showing up, and not just showing up and being respectful is understood and thankful and appreciated, like in the beginning of something. But the idea of how this unfolds itself is long term. So it's like, again, to emphasize the word yes or no, you will know yes or no, you know, so let your yes and no be clear in regards to the decision that you make. So co-creating with people, individuals that are on the same page, and that you agree with. It's like, okay, I'm on board. This is simple enough. It's a process. I understand that, but I'm on board because it's clear. My position is the benefit for all life, not picking and choosing. It's the whole reality field. So there has to be a respect and love for all life equally. And within your true self, that's an easy expression. However, not necessarily so easy. And sometimes when it's tried and you're put, and I've been there, trust me, but nevertheless, it is. And it allows, at least for me, in a lot of situations where I had attacks coming directly at me physically, on a spiritual level, to be able to either go one way or the other with it, which was either neutralized or with loving. And usually I'm not able to hold that loving space like that to be able to do it. So I go neutral with it. I don't give or take anything. And it became, for me, when that happened to me a few times, it was interesting because I've been preparing myself and it just kind of stepped in. I didn't plan on doing it. I just stepped in. I was just like, it came and it's like, I just became that, just became it. And I kind of go back to one point where I was having panic attacks, and I think it really kind of stemmed from that, because when I let go of that, I transmuted the energy, and all of a sudden it just became part of my field. So when something would come at me, I just go, and it would dissipate the field. It really would. It would just, everything around would just go back. The particle would just be neutralized. It was like it came in really strong and it just went away and just like it wasn't even there. But I couldn't even tell anybody how to do that. It's something that you do. And to go back to when I had the panic attack, I was on the road when it was happening, and I was having quite a few at that time. And it was the worst place to happen was I'm on the road and I'm driving, I'm on the freeway. And so I just said, okay, I'm done. And I just fell into it. Like dropping into it. I fell into it and I gave my entire life. I died, so to speak, right then in that moment. And when I did that, when I was able, what happened was I let it go of everything, and the energy transmuted because of that. It has to be 100%. It can't be like, oh, I'm going to try this. It doesn't work that way. You have to give all yourself, and everybody knows that or has experienced that, meaning the giving of self 100% at certain points within this incarnation. So it's like, it's not about this identity. It's not about this incarnation. It's about you let go of it entirely because you're giving yourself over to what you had already known before. And you realize that you're not losing anything of yourself. You're just letting go of it, so that instinctively it's a response. Later on, it took many years to figure out why that works that way. At the time, it's natural component of my consciousness, my true sense of self, that stepped in. So yeah, so that's how anything really gets done collectively as well. It has to be unified in that same fashion, if I could express it that way. It's true. And ultimately, what we're looking to do here is build it up to that point. And when we come together under the same roof, because we've been preparing so long and we've been practicing and rehearsing, so to speak, individually as well as collectively here as we would meet, that it becomes just like that thing where it's like, it's automatic, we don't have to work anything up. It's already there, we just agree and boom, it doesn't take very long for things to start happening.
Nice. I have a question about that, Randy.
Sure.
So with regards to what we can be doing individually, I haven't had a chance yet to watch the latest video, so I will definitely check that out. But from what I understand from the daily work that you've shared in the first video, we're looking at practicing the song, the Ikashe. I don't want to be saying the song incorrectly, but there's a song and there's a Kathara points. I think there's a 1 and 2 meditation. Is that where we're currently at?
Yeah, that was the guideline for that I, was led to utilize and put together within the PDF. So
Yep.
My recommendation would be, if anything at all, is just familiarizing yourself with that, like what Brian was saying, for the way that he's been that not practicing the techniques and everything. He's just familiarizing himself with it. So when he goes into something, he feels, you know, he doesn't have to think through it. He's just doing it, and he's intuitively understanding it. I guess maybe that's what he meant. I'm not quite sure, but I think that relates to a lot of what I do. A lot of what I've done or even developed, I pulled it out of like of a vacuum. Now this stuff, I utilized this and I altered it and some of it purposely because of the intention behind it. As the example, the first thing dealing with the universal tones of co-creation, right? We have these tones that relates to the structure, and I rewrote the music for it because in the original one, it speeds up at the end, which goes back to my experience that I had when I was in the Messianic movement, and that was a style of music. This is not unique to KS by any means, all right? This goes back many, many years before that even was done. So I know it had to come through that in some way, or there was an influence from that. So they would do this. And when I start looking at it and the first thing I put together was intention through design about this. What I noticed was contemplation. It was more important than singing a song. It's not about singing a song. It's about commanding. And it's about intimately being connected with it. And for me personally, it's about contemplation. So contemplation needs to be slow. You know, it needs to be one immersing oneself in that within a meditation. If you're singing, what I notice if people get together and they sing and they memorize something, there's a disconnect that happens. You just kind of like you go on autopilot, you know, and it's sort of like it almost turns into like singing a campfire song. So I decided, so well, I don't want this thing speeding up at the end. I go, this is first the way I'm looking at it, and how people are equally looking to immerse themselves in it with their understanding, and so their intention is clear. The intention has to be really clear. So when you sing in a tone, you know what it is and where it's going. You're commanding it. You know, it's not, you know, command in the proper way, not in a, you know, like demanding or anything. It's just the structure of the design is intended to be commanded. Okay, it's how we co-create within it. It's how we create within it. It's through intention, through first creation vibration, thought, intention. This construct is designed through intention. You know, the heart of the intention is love, but a love that it's really hard to hold here, but we can feel it, the spark enough to know that love for all things and with an equality. It's like there's nothing greater than anything else. It's all a mutual respect towards all things, and it's a feeling, right? It's a feeling. So
You're back.
the same thing applies to
I got
why I
booted
put the
off.
music together the way I did, so that we could do it at a slow tempo and not speed it up, but just kind of just meditate on it and collectively meditate. Hey, Brian, thanks for showing up.
Yeah, man. I something weird happened with the Wi-Fi. Like the whole thing shut down, and I actually, thank God I could use my.
There he goes again.
Uh-oh.
He just froze up.
That's what happened to me last workshop. Remember, just got disconnected.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing that we're dealing with. You know, I didn't really think of it until now, but I think when everybody kind of shows up, and we can even do it right now, we can strengthen the shields just through agreement, you know, because this is, you know, all these platforms are owned by somebody, you know, and this is owned by Microsoft. So there is nothing on the internet that people think that this is a safe zone. Well, come on. You know, what makes it a safe zone is the protection we bring to it. Yeah. So we can all collectively just put that out right now. We can just all do it. We don't have to go through any ceremony. We can just feel the energy right now and know that that everything is sanctified in that respect. That we through our sovereignty, we require and demand respect. You know, we honor all life as all life honors us as well equally. So that's how we hold our space. Yeah. So at any rate,
I think
if-
Brian had a question,
if-
no?
if we
he's not
have-
frozen.
I think he froze up again.
Right.
Or he's in a
He's got
state
too
of
much juice
meditation.
coming out. He's got too much energy coming up.
Is he in meditating?
Meditative, right?
Yeah, he's
Frozen.
it was a good.
He's
But
off the grid now.
I was
He's off
gonna
the
take
grid.
I was gonna take a screenshot of that because that was like a Buddha shot.
Yeah, that's it. He attained enlightenment.
Oh, he keeps freezing up. Yeah, 'cause
Oh,
now he has a sculling glare.
Poor dude, man. Yeah.
he's back.
He's back. You're back, my bro.
I don't know what's going on.
We thought
Too
you were
much
in
energy,
deep
my dude.
meditation.
Yeah.
Theo,
Your eyes were
thank you for
closed
that.
and you just froze.
Yeah. he keeps freezing up. So anyhow, I don't know if I got too sidetracked on that or not, but I want to make sure that we're all on the same page here as far as what the intention is. Does anybody want to just kind of go through what they understand as far as what we're looking to do collectively here individually? I want to hear from everybody, and that way we can all be on the same page. You know, if you can't do it right now and you're listening in, and I would just if go on Patreon and just message me privately or whatever, and then or whatever you within here, if you can type within here, it doesn't matter. Just
Well, Randy,
let us all know as far as what we're doing. So you want to go ahead and start, David? Is that what it is?
well, I'm just saying that my intention here is to offer safe passage for anybody that needs an exit strategy. That's what I'm called here for. You
Okay.
know, really, really simply, I feel the earth. I am learning. I work with stones. I work with energy. I work with my own energy. I'm able to hold fractals of past lives. I'm able to, but it's all energy. It's energy work. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a passage for everybody, not just one, but for anyone that chooses to escape this prison planet, this shit show. That's my intention.
Okay. Well,
And
that
it's hard-
certainly fits into. Sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
absolutely heartfelt. So it's all energetic, and I'm working through physicality, physical stones, working through my personal core. My core gate is the gate. That's my intention, and I want to bring anyone that chooses to share in this energy to show you my passage. Excuse me, it's not an entendre. Just to show you there is a way there. That's what I'm feeling. That's my strongest call in the current moment in time. So that's why I'm here.
Okay. Great. Awesome.
That's what I am.
Awesome. It fits right in.
That's what I
Perfect.
am.
Perfect.
Can I ask, David, but you're saying to escape, but escape where? Where to escape?
Well, I would suggest that the only escape is through inner earth. I think that's the next passage from where we can gain some form of ascension. But there is no. I don't think there is an. I don't think that we just take on extra energy and just pop out of here in a. I think we have to physically, first of all, create the image, and then take our bodies with us to that next dimension.
Yeah.
And that next dimension would, for me, be in at the moment, because I can't see another exit strategy. And everyone.
Yeah, it's there's a requirement for collective assistance.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm going to look to do here, right, is I want to hear everybody as far as where what David just said. He gave his conviction in regard to
And it is
his position. I want everybody, if they can, to go ahead and express it. After that, I'm going to mute my mic so I don't say anything, and so everybody can go ahead and do that. And then after you're done, then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to reaffirm as far as what my intention was for this entire thing. Okay, so anybody that wants to start, and you're on. If you don't have anything to say, just say that you don't have anything to say. But if you
I
do,
can go
please.
next.
Yes.
I can go next. So for me, from what I understand and also where I'm coming from, it feels like we're coming together to sort of align our consciousness, our intentions, our creation abilities together. For me personally, I'm doing it from neutrality and from a loving standpoint, similar to David, and to help others. I mean, obviously, we want to help ourselves, but in so doing it, service to others. So I want to be doing this in order to, we're helping each other, but then we can branch out and help others around us in each of our localities. If we attract people to us, I feel like we will attract people to us if we get to the level of the vision that Randy's put forth. So for me, doing this in loving neutrality, I also am similar in that I'm definitely an energy worker, and I feel like doing grid work where I live, because it's very dense energy here. I'm right near Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia. So I feel like a lot of us are coming together in this container, but in our own areas, we're doing work to help others beyond what we can see and feel in our everyday lives. So I feel like now we're coming together to create this group to elevate and do something on a higher level, a higher creation, that we can then hopefully, I would love to come together in a group, like you were saying, in person, but also to be able to attract the people around us that we can help on a physical level as well. So that's where I'm coming from and my understanding.
great. Absolutely. Fab.
Thank you.
I might jump in next, guys, if you don't mind.
Fab.
So for me personally, guys, I kind of gone through a bit of a process right now where I'm not trying to look too externally and just more focus on kind of clearing and healing and kind of embodying more of this information that I'm hearing, because like I've just realized I've been a bit stubborn, like with my own healing, my own journey. And also too, like I've had to accept and surrender to recognize that there's definitely a bigger process. There's something greater than myself, even though I'm an aspect of that. And I don't want to try to maybe step into the space of trying to plan how things are rolling out, because the reality is I don't know what's going on in the world. And I'm at a point I don't care. My own care right now is to really figure out what works for me as an individual to really align myself the strongest possible way. And then I feel once I understand that, then I can share that. And then I can kind of help other people allow themselves to do that, because I feel like there's so many different things right now that was really distracting for me, that it made it hard for me to understand which way was the right way to go, because everything had all these pitfalls and had all these possibilities. So I'm trying to kind of keep things simple for me. In Australia, we have the saying, like, keep things simple, keep it simple, stupid. And I thought I knew a lot of stuff. That didn't turn out to be the case. So I'm kind of just like, all right, well, I'm going in like with this an open heart, open mind. And there's something about this particular message with that you've been sharing, and with people that have kind of studied Keylontic science and used parts of it to activate parts of themselves. So for me, I'm in that process of really deeply activating myself and connecting with myself and moving from a felt sense theory to an actual practical being and knowing. And then once I'm from that place, then I'll be looking to kind of see what the next step is. But you know, my big things, and the only things that I know amongst all, like, and hold as my maxim, is that, you know, it has to be for the greater good for everyone. And the second thing that I'm kind of playing with is, like, I believe I came here for a reason. So I'm personally, like, I kind of am stubborn. So it's kind of like, I'm not fucking going anywhere. No one's making me go anywhere. Like, I'm here to fix this place as much as I can. But I'm not trying to do it from a fighting standpoint. It's more like, I'm here for things. I'm not here against things. And what I'm for is that all of humanity starts to wake up to what we are. And I don't know what that is fully, but I know it's a lot more than what we may think and feel on a day-to-day basis. But I also know that I don't know. So it may be us going to the Middle Earth. It could very well be that. It could be a million and one things. I don't know. But yeah, really excited to see what happens through the activation of self and through just working with people for that intention of the greater good for everyone. And yeah, that's me.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next? Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? I'm over here at work, so I don't know if you guys can. I apologize for.
We hear you, Axel.
Yes.
Sweet. So I guess I'll kind of jump in, and forgive me if I'm not super articulate with these thoughts, but where I'm at in this whole journey is I'm trying to figure out if, as me, the localized manifestation of the divine, if me in the 3D world has the will or has power to co-create or to manifest. Like, if I can use my mental power to co-create and manifest something that's more aligned with my desires, or if what free will is to be like the higher self already sets up everything we're supposed to experience in this reality. So free will would be in the present moment. You're sitting here and something is happening that you have no control over, and your free will is to choose positivity or negativity towards that situation. And if you choose positivity, you kind of align more with positive, more timelines or positive outcomes, or negativity, if you go down a negative spiral. Is the free will, do I have free will to actually manifest, co-create, and attract things from the quantum probability field in the external reality? Or is the free will the choice of observation in the present moment of like, okay, this is happening, I'm going to be positive or I'm going to be negative? Also, I think I'm also kind of in the realm of like, is all this Keylontic science type stuff, is it a physical external thing that's supposed to happen? Are we supposed to go to inner earth and ascend and all these different things? Or is this like parts of the human psyche that is, it's symbolism of the human mind that we're all kind of tapping into the collective unconscious? So I'm in that aspect of like the free will. What's the free will? Do I have the power to co-create here as a localized manifestation? Or is the free will just the observing choice? And also, could this just be like symbolism of the human psyche that's not really supposed to be experienced in the external reality, if that makes sense? Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, that's me. That's me. You guys continue.
Cool. I guess I'll go.
Yeah, let me just thank Axel for that. Thank you.
Oh, of course.
What am I here for? For something that I don't know. But I'm definitely have the desire to remember. Something really resonates with the base 12 math system of Keylontics. Randy, you mentioned a few times that it's not a complete math system. We're only base 10. And it just, something about that clicks. And I feel that my spiritual framework right now, everything's activated in a sense, which means to me that the building blocks are there, but the energy is not running through the wiring yet. And those parts have to come online. So I really want to help to come online, and it's not for just self-empowerment, it's to remember so I can help. I'm sick of seeing suffering on the planet. I'm sick of feeling powerless. And in the last few years, I've become so, I'm a complete freaking different person. And I love it. I love it. And this, I believe I'm here with you guys for the next step, wherever that's going to be. And on, I feel this year there are a lot of medical or new design things that are coming out that are going to be helping the collective. But I think really, even if these things can help, I think really the technology is within us. And that's where I want to be at. I want to know how to tap into this technology, why I came down here, and how can I co-create? How can I be really be the best version of myself
Mm.
to work with everybody and really shit. It's, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah, that resonates a lot. The shift, yeah.
Thanks, Brian. That was perfect. Thanks.
And I would just add on to what you guys said. I'm on the same page, but for me, I'm very new to Kelointic science, but I've been always looking for the answers. Was it through the Bible? Was it through some esoterical practices? But all I need now is why am I here for? Because I do feel a very strong calling, and what I'm doing in the 3D world right now, being a mother, being an esthetician, it does not satisfy me. I need to do something else, but I don't have those abilities. I don't have those skills. I don't have the knowledge, but I have a very strong calling. I'm trying to talk to the source, trying to talk to my higher self to get some answers. What is it so much bothering me inside that I have the calling, but I don't have the tools, and I need that shift to a different me, to a better me, to a different dimension of me, to take that step and change things with myself and around me. Definitely, I have a calling of helping people, but I don't have those skills. I'm not an energy worker. I'm not. I don't have any skills, but I do have a very strong feeling, and I've been in Christianity. And I've been through some esoterical practices, let's say, but it's not that 100% satisfaction that I want to get, basically. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank all of you. That was very clear and very beautiful. I really appreciate you guys being very clear. And there's a whole lot to take in there. So I'm going to try to do this in 70 league boot, as it's expressed. Everything that you said here is exactly aligns with what my personal intention is, and that is to work with individuated folk that has the same conviction as one another. Now, coming from a different place, individuated, David has his position, Daphne has her conviction, her position for what she does uniquely. You all do. And that's the whole point. Collectively coming together is that we all bring something that is very unique. And that is the individuated self. There is not another like you. There's even the different aspects of your subdivision of soul is different because of the experience that aspect of self is having. Now, who you are as a spirit, and I don't want to sideline here, remains the same because that's the eternal aspect of self. That never changes. But the subdivision of self in regard to to emphasize manifest reality, because that's what we're working with here. Outside of this, none of this really matters outside of coming into it to experience self differently. But when you have fields like this, and I don't want to belabor this, but when you have fields like this, where it's been altered, it is not the natural order. It's not the unnatural design. It's the antithesis of that. Everything here is completely reversed. So coming into this, we're coming here to assist. Assisting for what? Well, my understanding is assisting to change it. Can we change it energetically, consciously? Yes. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this, because it's not my mind that's responding to this or my identity here. It's like what you're all talking about, what you're all expressing from, is the core aspect of who you are in your essence. You know it can be. You may not have the solutions for all things, and as Olio just referred to, I don't have the skills. You just haven't developed certain things yet, but you're persevering and moving forward with your intention. That's what matters. On a personal note, anything that I have done, I've created it mostly out of just pulling it out of a vacuum. I have no idea what I'm doing in some cases, not a clue. I just give myself over to it. And when I put it into motion and I actuate the energy, it starts to flow. And then, I have to discipline myself to know how to record whatever I'm doing, writing, whatever way that I'm able to arrange what is being brought through me. Now, I think that applies to everybody, all in a different way. We all do things and we process things differently, don't we? But it's really about that. It's about taking what we have and holding it. As an analogy, going out of the body. One of the aspects behind this is learning how to get out of the body so that we can retrieve information and that we can learn how to hold it into this body. Because because a lot of times we'll go out of the body and we're not even aware of it. And I mentioned this, I guess, was the first workshop, was you ever have that experience where you go to sleep and you wake up and you just feel elated, you just feel energized. You don't really know why, but you feel it within the core of you. Well, that's probably because you're out doing and you're receiving and you're doing work and everything, and you're being regenerated or connecting in regard to being out of the, who knows, you might going all the way back to source, right? And you're just, whatever the case may be, you come back and you bring that part, a spark, but it's a bright spark, right, within you, but you don't remember what it is. Consciously being able to go out of the body and training yourself, because it's a process, certainly, where you're able to bring it back, boots on the ground, practical application, bring back skills that you've already had that has been, because of the conditions here, haven't been able to have access to. And that's a lot of the frustration, because you have things that you can do, but it just seems to be just like a carrot being dangled in front of you, and you're kind of trying to get it. It keeps moving as you go towards it, type of feeling, if you understand what I'm saying. So there's this drive and sense, give me back my thing, but you don't quite know what it is. Going out of the body is an important factor in this, because that's part of our higher attributes. That's normal. It's a normal process, really is.
Okay, what do you,
Hello? I hear somebody else talking. Hello?
I think Axel just accidentally unmuted himself.
Oh, okay. Anyhow, so.
yes, sorry about that. I didn't mean
Oh,
to.
no.
I was having a, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, okay, so, yeah, I'm getting kind of long-winded here, but it's intentional in regard to this, because there's certain things that in the beginning here for what we're doing, we're putting forth our intention based on our conviction and the way we feel, right? What we feel and who we are as a being, the attributes of who we are and our function within manifest reality, and the reasons why we're here. Some of us know that more than others. The point is that we all know what it is. We just don't have all the conviction in order to actuate the energy towards that within an act. Okay, the part of this is allowing that to come forward, right? giving yourself the tools or being able to access that energy, that which belongs to you, so that you can do the very thing that you feel the conviction to do, but you don't quite know how to go about doing it, so to speak, you know. And if I could add something to that, outside of the idea of going out of the body and retrieving your own personal information, as well as accessing certain aspects of higher attributes to be able to bring it back, such as the idea of being able to demonstrate through power, because that's really what it's about. I mean, honestly, knowing things without the demonstration of the energetic conviction, being able to manifest it, is just another story, or just talking to one another again. It's time to move to the next stage. Let's get back our power. And I've been around certain groups and stuff like that they don't really like using the word power. I do. You know, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. And because the demonstration of power is what's going to turn heads. It's what's going to cause change around you. You know, as if the example for me personally, this is before I was bedridden the first time. I had an experience, somebody healing somebody of cancer, and it was the real McCoy. Okay. I was in the living room and I was standing by the window, and all of a sudden everything around me was talking. It just kind of went bop, bop, bop. And all of a sudden it was like my auric field. I could just feel everything around me. And I was like inside this capsule. All right. And this person had cancer. And the reason why it came up is because the person had cancer, and the person that was talking to me said they had cancer. And immediately I was in that space, and I couldn't, immediately I turned telepathic, couldn't talk, couldn't move hardly. So I'm sitting there thinking that I needed to do something. So I kind of lifted my finger up and pointed it at him, and boom, and hit him. Demonstration of power. Okay. Because that's really what it's about. Ultimately, that's what we're looking to do. If we come into this reality field in order to change consciousness here, no, we're not usurping people's free will, because people don't have free will here. They don't know what that is. What we're doing is liberating. That's the idea, is to bring the power to liberate, so that whatever choice anybody makes, it's a clear yes or no choice for them. So that's really primarily what looking to do all this. There's a lot involved with it, you know. However, but that fundamentally, in the simplest terms, that's really what it's about. Oh, I hear myself. I hear my echo. Mr.
Do you mind if I add on to that, Randy? Because I think that's a great point.
Yeah, certainly.
Yes, Axel wrote a perfect comment to this. Is like, only people who don't know their own power are offended by the term power, or the use of the term power. And one thing that I've personally started doing in the last 2 months is I've started a new program, but the concept behind like some of the work that I'm doing and I'm learning is to not need to keep on needing to do all these different lessons and programs and things like that, because I think we get caught in this loop of needing to keep learning stuff. And for me, it was like this continual belief of not knowing. Like I liked not knowing, because that means I could just keep on learning stuff. But I think, to your point, Randy, like we need to be able to prove that we can do things with the things that we're learning, because that actually gives a reason for learning it in the first place. So I don't want to take up any of the time for this based on what you're teaching, but I'm currently practicing something at the moment to help me financially and be able to create a lifestyle in this planet by somebody who's done that multiple times and has used quantum mechanics and things like that. And there's a lot of people that talk about things like, I think this is the reason why I'm saying this, is to kind of liken this to like the law of attraction phase and that whole fad, where people just say things that sound great and have this huge following, but there's not a lot of ability to be able to show that people that made their money or people that teach the law of attraction had any success with the law of attraction before selling stuff about the law of attraction, if that makes any sense. So I think with what you're doing and what we're learning here, because I just feel intuitively that there's something here that's why I need to be here, that we're going to learn some powers and we're going to be able to practice them. And that's just going to give people this proof, hey, like this works. And this is why, you know, and at the end of the day, the proof's in the pudding, right? It's what we need.
Right. Absolutely. the reason for coming together, as you just stated, is that being one of the things, at least initially, that I had in mind. I mean, it's a process. Ultimately, again, you want to be under the same roof. This is where it's, let me see if I can simplify this. It's like being a band. Okay, I'll use that as a metaphor. Rehearsing and rehearsing, 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 to the point when you go and you perform it, you're not thinking anymore. It's done. You're just doing it. And on a unified level, collectively, when that takes place, it's not like an amplification of 1 + 1 = 2. It's magnified by 10. In this case, where it's magnified by 12. So the power that is being created within that building is manifesting. It'll get to the point where it's actually their physical manifestation is going to take place. And it's not going to be like, oh, I'm thinking of a green ball and I get a red square. No, it's a green ball, right? You know what I'm saying? And not only that, is that other beings that are working on the same, for the same intent, within the same intention, for the benefit of all life, come in and strengthen the expression being shields, the energy that is there. They come in, park themselves over top of the roof, and they hold the shields that much more. So the energy just becomes amplified and amplified. And so I used this analogy before because I know this, because I've seen a lot of this stuff a long time ago. I mean, vision, okay? Someone comes walking by on the sidewalk and boom, their consciousness is immediately changed. And even so much so, who they are really on a soul level, they change into the form that they are. But that's not a bad thing, okay? All it is doing is bringing them back around to who they are in regard to it as a soul subdivision, truly. And now they start immediately recall all the things that they used to be before they became twisted. I see this. I know this to be true. And see, this is a co-creative universe or construct. It's fashioned that way. It's designed this way. So when we emanate this power collectively, because we're used to working collectively, what's strange is this individuation here where we feel this need to be separate. Now, I'm not talking about not standing in the gravity of your own shoes and doing what you need to do for yourself and taking on that sovereign self, but understanding how powerful it is when we co-create together, really co-create together. You know, it's not like showing up on week and the next week, oh, that's not my thing, or I'm going to go do this now. There's no long term for anything like that, obviously, where you have subdivision within factions of the fallen agenda. But one thing they do is play the long game. We don't do that, and we got to stop being children and start doing the long game, you know, and let our yes be yes, let our no be no. So if we commit ourselves, we're in. You don't have to think, we don't need to think about it. We just need to understand that our part individually, what I do, is dependent on how it's going to be effective to you, the domino effect that it's going to create and how it relates and co-creatively with you and vice versa. You know, it's a mutual agreement. And so again, demonstration of power, right? Transformation. If we come into this construct for the purpose of assisting it, and I'm interested in seeing within me, and I have seen this, the manifestation of that power to that transformation unto reintegration, right? Instead of talking about, like a lot of what I hear, people talking about, it's like, oh, if you do this little thing, it affects this. And yes, of course it does, of course. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, you know, the guy in the room. It's like, oh, it'd be nice if I was healed of this cancer. No, you're healed of this cancer. That's the demonstration of power. It's not talking. It's not the word only. It's the deed, as you were saying. I don't want to know how to do something if it's not applicable to actually, boots on the ground manifestation. It needs to be substance, right? We're doing this for what? So we can entertain ourselves, or we have nothing else better to do? No. We know better than that. Yeah. So we're all here for the same reason, really, but we all have our own individuated part that we play. And it's so essential as a collective whole in order for it to do the thing that it's really able to do. So this is a process, right? It's going to take a time for it to happen. Eventually, we're going to be able to do it on our own communities, under our own roof, or under somebody's roof, or roofs, on a consistent basis. And that's the whole thing. It's an ongoing thing. It's not something like I mentioned within the PDF, ongoing power events. It's not an event. It's a lifestyle, actually, is what we're talking about. This is what we are. And we're bringing that which we are outside of this into this, holding more of the soul within this incarnation, transmutation, higher attributes, power and abilities, to where we can do it. And we can do it on a very large level, and everybody that has, you guys and gals that communicated as far as your conviction, it's all so right on and perfect, because it's all in a process. All of it's in a stage of movement. Ultimately, so that you, as an individuated essence that has always known, and it's, put it this way, the higher aspect of self, of what self really is an immortal spiritual being, right? It doesn't have a beginning. It doesn't have an end to it. It's all knowing, all powerful, okay? It's God is what it is. If you want to use that word, God. Some people don't like using that word. Use whatever word you want. Doesn't matter. The point is, that is what we're talking about bringing into this. Because when you're in that space, right, there's no doubt, there's no question, there's no theory. There just is. Either it's an act or a fact. And that's what I've been led in the process that I'm putting together, and the curriculum and stuff. It's all for that purpose. That's the end goal, which is not an end. It's a beginning, and remains the beginning all the time, if you know what I mean. So this is great.
So you would say down here, as the localized manifestation of the higher self, of God, of that consciousness that's all powerful, us being down here in this kind of distorted, twisted time matrix or whatever.
Yeah, again, with transformation, right? The idea is transforming that, because this is a spell, and we can break the spell. It's through intention through which all things are created. And the heart of the intention is unconditional love, which that's a misleading term used down here, because it's about the equality for all life. When we embrace that truly, or embody that, so to speak, and then we do it on a collective level with pure intention, meaning with direct command. Yeah, it's not a head thing, because actuality, the way we think here, is not the way that I'll give you an example for this, before I go too far with that. And I mentioned this before, but it bears repeating. I've been in a space about 3 or 4 times here, where I go into this space where I am my true self. I don't have to think. I'm not thinking. I never do think. I just either have intention or I don't. So this is what I'm referring to, holding that space where it's just intention. There's not thought. So there doesn't give any room for doubt. You are 100% clearly who you are, not this distorted aspect of self. And anytime I was in that space, all the traffic that existed before, because this is Grand Central Station, went away. And like I said, it was just, I had no thoughts. I didn't need to think. It was just intention. It's an act or a
That's
fact.
interesting.
Yeah. We do a lot of entertaining ourselves here. And, you know, I like entertainment. It's great. But that's not really what we're here for. But it's, you know, again, the spells that are cast here, because the math is wrong. So if you have the math is wrong, because words, symbols, and all this, words and math is the same thing. You can look at within certain Semitic cultures, you can see that still exists. The underlying code command that's there, not saying that's correct, but I'm saying that still exists. But that's how things function and how they work. So if you alter that, then what you're doing is you're removing it. First of all, let me back up and say, if you have a natural order or the original, which I refer to as original design, it has certain mathematic code to it. Okay, here is not the original design order, but we can change it. And how is it that this creation came to be to begin with? It's a consciousness construct. So it's through our intention in bringing in the energy of that creates a new world. Because it's really about switching on enough people, not by convincing them, but through demonstration of power. And that is done through, again, to emphasize the reason for coming together, co-creatively, collectively, harnessing it and amplifying it. It's going to take a while for all of us to be on the same page for that. But this is a process, like I said, and it's fine. But what's important is for one to say yes or no. You know,
And on that,
anybody,
Merlin,
and anybody's welcome here for as long as it doesn't matter. But as you know, I don't want this to sound weird with what I'm saying, but I'm just saying simply before I mute my mic, there is so much ability that we have that is not being expressed. So there's things we have to remove in regard to the spells that has convinced us of being less, you know, and worms and lowly sinners and all the other things you want to throw in the box, that it doesn't allow us to access. And one of the processes behind that is getting out of the body. And there's a huge process to go through. I put out the PDF. I created that PDF for me, and I just decided to share with other people. And I think it's valuable. That's the reason why I said in the video, I think it's valuable, because I know enough and I've been around the block enough to know there's certain things you have to do before you do others. You have to fear process and all these things, clearing yourself enough. So when you go in, if you finally are able to utilize the technique to where it works and you start getting out of the body, your intention is very clear. You're not getting out so you can just meander around and goof around and just, there's very specific intention for what you're doing. You know, you're developing, as Olia referred to, you're developing skills or relearning things that you knew how to do, you know, but doing it with confidence. Fear doesn't play part in it. Fear is an artificial emotion, artificial, not real. It just affects the nervous system, so it feels real. Because you're not that. We're what? The love we've always been. We're not the fear that we've always been. That's part of the twisted math and everything, and all the other stuff that goes along with it. So anyhow, all right.
So
Okay.
you would say that fear is not natural, as like, so fear and twisted, all of that comes from the same source, even though it's
Yep.
not again.
Yep.
It's kind of hard to understand that in my perspective. Like,
The byproduct of all that,
fear,
anything that you can associate with that's the opposite of the love that you've always been, is part of the same thing. It's just what
it's not
synonym.
so artificial is kind of like a weird, so it's like when you say that it's like an artificial, or I understand it's like it's what we're not trying to have. We don't want to operate from fear. We don't want to have any negativity or subjugation, but the entities and the things that are operating from that, they're also operating within the constructs of source. Everything comes from the source, including all of these negative
Yes,
bad
agree.
things that we're trying
Yeah,
to
but
get.
when
Okay.
you alter consciousness, it's a free willed. I mean, you look at polarity as free will. Okay,
Mhm.
that it's part of the construct design. So you got choice. I mean, the first, I don't want to go down this path too long, but if you look at the first conflict that took place, it was within higher consciousness. Okay, a lot of people are running around right now and saying that fifth dimensional consciousness is unity consciousness. That's just not true. Unity consciousness is found wherever you're at within any aspect of manifest reality. It doesn't make any. It's a choice that you make. However, the complications that involved in regard to the digression that took place early on, pretty early on rather, was in the fourth, what is referred to as being the fourth harmonic universe, dimensions 10, 11, 12. Okay, and this had to do with the manifest template that was used to manifest for a particular race decide to continue to use that. And eventually the code became corrupted, which caused a deviation in consciousness, which caused the conflict, which caused the so-called Lyran War. Okay, so can things change? Yes, intention always, because you can never go so far south, right, that you still don't have what is referred to as being the source seed within you, because it's a consciousness construct and the design is that. So it's within all things. So if all things are made of, as an example, particae, that means the unici, what you see in the unici, you see the triunity, you see the intention within that smallest of consciousness units, source. Regardless if it's a deviation from the natural order or not, true with what you're saying, yes. So it's choice that's being made. It makes it harder, but ultimately what I'm talking about here is this not get caught up in semantics so much, all right? Because there's a potential for that. But looking at the heart of what we're talking about, at least what I'm saying, is that we can change things here. I mean, change things for us. We can change things literally in demonstration of power, because that is part of the natural order. Either it's an act or a fact. Here, it's not like that. But let's not embrace here the way it is anymore. It's sort of like who was referring to, Brian was referring to the medical devices that they've had for quite a while, right? The holographic medicine, regenerative holographic technology and stuff like that. Let's bypass all that. Were we waiting for somebody because we need to be, subordinate to, or we're waiting for them, but when they think it's right for us, when we know for the longest time that the fallen agenda has had the momentum and still does in regard to the world, right? Not the planet or this body, but the world, which is the consciousness here. However, all of us, I'm sure, is not really concerned about that. It's our thing that we're able to do. If we understand the power that we really have access to, why should we ever be concerned about what anybody else is doing that is in the opposition for the benefit of all life? If I could give a story real quick, I'll give this story and I'll just drop it at this. I mentioned George Kosovasilis earlier, and I've told this story before, but I'm going to tell again because it's a great story and it kind of puts a cap on what I'm saying. All right. George, like a lot of folk here, from an early age was on the radar and was abducted and messed with a lot, okay, by the opposing quote unquote forces, all right? So when he became an adult after many experiences through all this stuff, long story, George knows what it is and he can tell it very well. He doesn't do that too much these days, but the point is that there was this one particular story that he did tell that I thought was very fitting and it was very powerful. So he was, and he's, I don't know exactly, but sometime during his adult years, he refers to his higher self as being Big George. Okay. So he refers to Big George telling him to flip over on his stomach. He was laying on his bed, and that they're coming for him. Okay. So he just releases, flips over. They show up, pull him through the window. Funny little critters, round head, round eyes, big mouth, small little teeth, really goofy looking. So they take him to the moon, all right? So he's just cooperative. He's waiting for the next, what's going to happen. He's just waiting. You released, let go. Okay, here we go. So he gets there. He feels this consciousness that's been orchestrating this, okay, within another part of the facility within the moon. All right. So he's laying on this gurney, and I don't know exactly how long he was there before this happened, but now Big George shows up. He levitates off the gurney. All these little critters are bouncing off the wall like, possums running into the fence, little bitty possums. So he goes, Big George now is walking towards this being that's orchestrating this. And this being is throwing, psychic energy towards him, trying to keep him from going. George is saying this all the time that he's walking towards him. He goes, I'm coming. I'm coming. And he just keeps walking. He gets to the point where he's a room away. He's walking through the walls, okay, at this point. Okay, because, right. So he walks through the wall. And he says, I'm coming through now. He says, it's over. I'm coming through. So he goes through, and let me just get to the point at hand. This was a orchestrated, designated appointment. He goes to this being. Long story short, he embraces this being, and he's able to take this being back to what it was before it came into manifest reality. The love that it was always been, and it transmuted this being immediately, disappeared, and was reintegrated with its true aspect of self. And it left the impression, thank you. That's one example of the reasons why we're here. Demonstration of power, not in word and don't, not in intellect. Hogwash. I'd rather know only a few things and be able to do them thousands and just be able to do a few things. So I wasted a lot of time with thousands of those things, if you know what I'm saying. For the few things is what mattered, is where I should have been focusing my energy and my intention. So that's really what this is about. It's about what we all have collectively and bringing it in an authentic way, and in a way knowing that we're looking to serve for the greater purpose, right? And we're at liberty with that. There is such liberty when you let go in order to get that, as the example used within the story of George. Let it go. When you know yourself, meaning when you have that connection, release, so that before you can get something, you got to let go of something else, right? Another metaphor, but it's true, right? Let go of the attachments that you hear, my intellect, what I think I know, blah, 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 long list of stuff. But instinctively within inside you, in the core, Azure, heart, chakra, just the spark. Once you make that connection, you know what it is. And it's just a matter of a process of letting go and allowing the conduit to expand in order for energy to flow. So. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and pause myself.
I wanted to expand on what you were saying for a second there. So
sure.
When he was talking, there's a level of, unprogramming that we kind of have to do from, being here in this world where you come in, you forgot everything, and it's almost like they reprogram you into this matrix, into this system, into this time. And there's like an unprogramming that needs to happen. And I definitely feel like I've been doing it from a young age, but I didn't realize it. So, but like the things that he's talking about in that story, it's just like, it's like a natural way of when you can feel energy in your body, when you start to let go of a lot of the mind stuff, like having to know all the answers, right? All of a sudden, when you let go of that, the higher knowledge can come into you. So it's, there's a place where when we come into this group together, I feel like we're going to tap into that a little bit more and more together. And when you can drop all that programming, or not, I shouldn't say all of it, when you drop more of it, you can start to feel and sense things. And it's just like an automatic, okay, I intend for this, and there it is. You know, it's like a connecting in that we'll all come together and be able to do eventually. I'm hoping that we can get to that point. But yeah, it's like there's a, it's almost like you don't think about it, you know, it's just, it's the natural way that you have to tap into as you unprogram yourself from some of that thinking, and you realize it more consciously in your life, that when you have to have an answer for this and for that and for this, where it's more like, let me just sit here, and then the answer when you surrender or when you let go, all of a sudden you're just there and you're just being and you're present, and you're tapped into that spot where you can just intend something and it happens. Where I'm not saying I'm perfect in that either, but if we are able to come together in this group and all do it at the same time, it's going to be really powerful. So I felt like that's my own words on what he was explaining there, if that helps anyone else. But that's what I
Can we
wanted to
have some
add.
kind of
Thank you, Daphne.
hands-on, you know, as you like to say, Randy, boots on the ground, like techniques, practices, do something together? When we're gonna start that?
Well, we've already begun. You know, like I keep using the word process. It's always a process. I mean,
So just being
I don't
here.
want to camp out on the word process that much, but you let me ask you a question. Okay, in that context, have you progressed since we've been speaking? Have things changed for you within you since we've been speaking? Not just talking about this time, but over the time that we've have, which has been, you know, quite recent.
Absolutely, yes.
There we go. It's a process. And if there's any change taking place, if there's an excitement even, or it's like, all right, cool, you're inspired. That's all part of the same thing, isn't it? Certainly. Absolutely. You know, time, you know, I don't want to go too far ahead because again, it's a process. But when we get to a certain place, individually in a collective manner, to where we're not thinking and we just know, there's a difference between believing, I want to see how things turned out. Well, that's a belief, right? No, it's when you know, and we come together with knowing. It's not a matter of theory. It's not a matter of question. It's just your intention. You got to understand, if I can emphasize this, and I don't mean this in too forward of a way. I'm just trying to emphasize the point of how powerful intention is. It's through intention that through which you create.
Mm.
The very first creation vibration, thought, intention. The word thought shouldn't even be used there. Okay, it's used in order to allow for perhaps better understanding here, but it's not necessary. Certainly it's because you don't think at that level. It's just intention. It's just a knowing. It's sort of like, well, I'm not going to start using a bunch of metaphors. I have a tendency to do that too much. I don't want things to get lost. Intention is so powerful. And we all come together with the same intention, boom. You know, when we're all on the same page, I keep using that, but it's true. We're not thinking, our intention is the same. And we've rehearsed, again, the band before it goes on tour. We rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. It just become a very, where it's just, now we perform and there's no thought. There can't be any thought in order to play the music. You can't think to play the music. Thinking comes before playing the music. Because once you know the music and you've rehearsed it well enough, then it's expression and intention. And that's what I'm talking about. And when you do it collectively, I kind of relate to that, and I use that as a metaphor because playing music and performing with individuals that I had a chemistry with, there is no thought. The energy moves, and everybody moves with that energy at the same time. It's like the experience of that is liquid light. It's really hard to put into words, but that's what I'm talking about in regard as an analogy of how the energy is moving. It's moving collectively in a symphonic way like that.
Mm.
And it's the intentions it's everything. Intention is everything.
May I speak?
Well, absolutely. Well, you don't have to ask permission.
No, don't want to override anyone. But just following on that, can I broach a new subject, and one that's new to all, but we could all participate in? And that's one of empathy, which is like telepathy, but the empathy of telepathy. So if you think about it, this is something that's new to everybody in the group. And I have a theory on telepathy. And one of the theories is that we are all telepathic, but you don't know you're telepathic because how do you make a phone call when you're the only one with the telephone, right? Now, I have experienced telepathy once, well, twice actually, with the same person, and it blew my mind because I knew it was real. And there is a way that we can connect with each other. And it was explained to me how it could be done. But I've never had another opportunity to practice it, play with it. I've actually had a go with one of the people here, you, Randy, but you didn't respond, which is okay because maybe I wasn't doing it right, or maybe you weren't empathic towards my telepathic phone call. But I was told how to do it, and it's a technique, and the technique that I was told was if you want to call someone, go to your pineal gland, find them there, dial them up there with their name, very specifically with the intention of connecting to them, and it connects into their pineal. So it's a pineal to pineal connection. So I say, Randy, and call him up Randy, and it connects in the pineal. And then I experienced, in this case, genuine communication. It wasn't forced, it wasn't trying. I was lying in my bed, I was connecting to someone in another location, connected to them. At an appropriate time, we had a small conversation. I was blown away by it. I tried it the next day, and they said, actually, this is not an appropriate time to call, you know? And I thought, yeah, right, okay, get it. So there's no protocol as to how to phone somebody or when to phone someone, but I know we can do it. And the reason that you are not telepathic is because you decide then and they decide then. So I think as a small group, is this something that we feel as if we could actually have a crack at? Over to you guys.
Oh, you're muted, Brian.
Unmute, Brian.
I'm definitely interested in that. Yeah, absolutely. It sounds logical. There was a book that spoke about this, and I believe the author went to Australia and she found the indigenous tribe over there. And a woman that told me about this book said that the book was posted as fiction, but she says there's no way this thing could be fictitious. And she wound up calling contacting the author, and she asked the author, "Is this real?" She says, "Well, I usually don't tell this people, but I think I'm supposed to tell you this is real. But I had to post it this way in order to save the tribe who who helped me in Australia, because once they found out that they were telepathic, that the government was trying to get to them and learn about it. So yeah, I mean, I'm totally into this.
I don't personally think that the Aborigines are more telepathic than you. Because having experienced it once, or technically twice, having experienced it once, it was so real, I can't be persuaded otherwise. And I don't think there's anything special about me. Nothing at all. So if I can do
It's part of our, it's part of the, it goes back to what I was saying about higher faculties and getting out of the body and all this stuff. One way to practice, because I hear things all the time. Let me just tell you, David, I don't normally say, I said this to the doctors once and they diagnosed me as being schizophrenic. Okay. It was a mistake. I went in the hospital because of my heart, and they start saying things and I go, well, I hear things all the time. And I go, but you don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so immediately it wasn't good. It went on my record and I go off.
Yeah.
But I was such in a heightened state at the time because my heart rate was so high.
Yeah.
You know, funny story. Because I'd go in there and I would know, I know a few things more than some of the doctors would know. And they would say something and I would correct them, and they really hated that. And I didn't do it deliberately to be a jackass. I was just in a heightened state. So I just correct them because I could, I guess. I don't know why I did it. It just was, you know, it was in the moment and it was what it was. It's hard to explain those things, but outside of what I just said. But the higher faculty thing, I hear things, I tune things out most of the time, David.
Yeah,
truly. And what you're talking about is part of what I'm referring to, though. But if I'm going to dial somebody up, they know that I'm going to be calling them usually, or I already have an ongoing relationship to be able to call them like that, you know. Or as an example, there was a friend of mine that referred it to this way because he was talking about the same thing. He would there was a term that he used for this. I can't remember what it was called. It was sort of like going. Did you hear that?
We can hear it.
Yeah, it would click you, and it would be like, "Are you available?" That's what that meant. You know, so. But as a group, it's essential. This is where we're going to be going with, because we're going to be communicating telepathically, and ultimately, we really want to be able to do that because we're going to be telling each other things we don't want anybody else to hear. Because with telepathy, one of the things with telepathy is that you can. Let me try to put this into proper words. Okay, like if you have sound coming out of a speaker here, I'll use this as an analogy. If you have sound coming out of a speaker, you don't need a speaker in order to project sound. There was an inventor, I don't know how many years ago, they put this together, which was a soundless speaker projection. Like they had it in Washington, D.C., McDonald's, different places like that. You go into that area and I don't know if they have them anymore, but they did. You go into a particular area, booths, right, within McDonald's. Each booth would have one of these devices, and you would sit down and then you would hear the sound. And then you get out and there's no sound. But all this was bandwidth, and the projection of the sound, like a light wave, was determined by the energy that was being projected and, and the width of it. And so you can create a funnel in the same way with telepathy, because it's energy, same thing, so that that field can't be interfered with. So we can have direct line of conduit connection, communication, where nobody's has access to the line except for the ones that are on the line, that are part of the party line, so to speak.
I know that to exist.
Yeah. See, there, you just affirmed it then. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So, right.
But that's not done by magic and.
No, I'm just saying
it's
yeah. No, I was just using that as an analogy, just to refer to try to create an image.
Field.
Yeah.
About fields, you create your own field.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
exactly.
The is the width of the field that you've created.
Right. Yeah.
So if you've created a field around you, then that bandwidth only that person can get in. It really does work that simple. It really isn't complicated. It's all about intention.
Right.
If you connect to someone, you do.
That's the reason why I keep using the expression intention is everything. So
yes, it is.
Let us. I don't mean. I'm sorry, David. I didn't mean to cut you short, but
that's fine.
We're doing a lot of talking here, and it's important to talk in the beginning. It really is. Okay, because being on the same track and everything. So curriculum. Since I put together the curriculum that I did put together, it's an important suggestion that people take a look at the curriculum and become familiar with it, because the whole aspect of being of the same intention is being, on the same path, so to speak. So in context to the PDF there, we're looking at universal tones, all this stuff, commanding. This is a process, again, the emphasized process. I don't really want to take the time out, and I think that I may need to do this, but I really don't want to do it, is to go through the PDF and, line by line, precept by precept, explaining things so that that's really, really clear. Not that it's not clear, I don't think. I think it is clear. But you know what I'm saying, because eventually we all have to be doing it. And we need to be doing it collectively. I need to get behind the keyboard, and because it's not just it's not singing the songs. Okay, let's just make that very clear. It's not doing that. It's about unity. So we can just mouth it, right? It's the intention behind it that matters. The music itself is creating the pulse for the collective orchestration, because it's about our fundamentally, we're looking at our pulse waves being unified energetically, projecting the same intention. Okay, that's what that's about. And understanding what's there so that everybody's on the same page. What I mean personally by that is that everybody's yes is yes and everybody's no is no. If they agree, then you're agreed. If you don't agree, that's fine. Okay, done deal. But in order for this to be done collectively, there has to be that same intention. So it's about knowing. It's not. So there's a lot of things involved with this as well. As one of the techniques, and Brian did these techniques for a little while. I don't know. He can talk about that a bit. As the sound and light techniques that I developed, and one of the aspect of that technique was being able to resonate vibrations in a specific area in the body in order to move the energy, and seeing the relationship that with the Kathara grid and so on and so forth, but the grounding aspect and utilizing tones in order for that to happen. The issue that I have with this is that it requires a tone generator in order for it to assist you in the process. Okay, so that's the other thing. Anyhow, so I'm gonna go ahead and ask Brian if he wants to talk about that a little bit, just to see in context to what I'm talking about as a whole, because all this requires, dare I say it, work.
Yeah, I did practice it for about a month, and I had the tone generator or the keyboard, and I followed the information, and you do start feeling the frequencies resonating on each chakra. You start feeling, that's what I felt. And especially when I got to no, the violet one, right at the crown, at times I would feel huge pulsations coming from my head and things like that. But what I did feel, I did feel that I needed to. I was playing with it, and I didn't stick with it. And the reason being, I think I needed more of a collective to stick with it. It was kind of hard for me just to keep on doing it by myself
Yeah.
every day. So
Yeah, it's
there's
true.
definitely a practice and yeah.
Yeah, I'm raising my hand here because I know because of what is, see, these things were dropped from me. It's like, develop this, Randy. Okay. And that's kind of how it happened with me. It was one word, octave. And as soon as I heard octave and I see the relationship of a construct as being harmonic, immediately I just go to the keyboard, and it started from that for like a week, and then I stopped. And when I put together the PDF and the introduction to sound alike techniques, all that was happening within a very short time. I did that very quickly. And that's what I was referring to as making yourself available, and then creating the space so that it can flow, but I've been kind of doing that a good part of my life. So it kind of comes more naturally to me now at this point in my life than it ever has. So I just let go and let it happen. And so then, the work is putting it together. But from the very beginning, and I've said this within the videos within that series that I did for it, this has to be a workshop to really understand what's being done. Because once you know what it is, really get it, because there's one of the fundamental techniques is harmonic resonance, being able to resonate, vibrate in the body in very specific, mainly within the lowest energy center within the body. That's grounding you to the earth, because this is a circuit. This functions as a circuit. That's the reason why, like when you're doing the Maharic seal, really that's what you're doing. In the beginning, you're grounding yourself. Otherwise, there's no way to harness the energy. Okay. And then when you move from that to the 12 strand DNA, which is what we see within the tribal shield. Okay. You're harnessing that energy in order to create a Q site. Q site is an energetic portal connection. I'll use the word portal. You can use whatever word you want, that connects to the gate system here for the planetary or this body universal system, right? Which allows for go back to telepathic communication there for a sec. It allows for telepathic communication directly to inner Earth civilizations, specifically those that are, obviously within the same intention and frequency, right? So it's all process. I wanted to bring that into this, and there's where I'll mention and ask for your, opinion or what you experienced on that. Because I wanted to bring that in, because when you look in the PDF, I mentioned the idea of actuating energy through feeling and vibration. Feeling has to do with emotions and everything else. There's a connection to that, and there's a physicality to what is going on with this. So we're incorporating all our senses and all aspect of, again, intention, so it can be of its greatest effect. The more our intention becomes a knowing, and meaning in our conviction, we're not doubting anything. It's a yes or it's a no, right? The more the energy will flow within that context, because we're orchestrating constantly and programming around ourselves and within ourselves with what we're doing, either what we're doing physically as an expressive thought or with an internal aspect of thought, to use that word thought. So this is a great deal of orchestration. I mean, like I said, I've been at this for quite a while in order to try to bring it, so it's kind of hard for me to summarize. So it's in itself really requires a workshop to kind of take you from ground zero, so to speak, and kind of move through it. So that if anybody has questions about, okay, what is this and whatever, then it could be answered. It's skipping the instructions was where usually the trouble begins. It's like, if you know what I mean. So, but within the PDF that I put together specifically for this, dealing with the universal tones, right? And then moving from that into the Kathara points. It was from that where the integration of the sound and light techniques was, I thought, would be useful. But again, this would be more useful within a workshop. Now, training would be good for doing stuff online, but in reality, it's, again, getting under the same roof. Oh, man. I mean, I hate to belabor this, but it's true based on my experience, okay? I know the difference between manifestation with a collective of people within the same room with the same intention, or people that you talk to over the phone, if you know what I mean. People show up, their attention is undivided. They're there for the same reason. That's why they're there. It's not saying that's not the case here. It's not what I'm saying. They're just something that happens energetically in the same room within our biofields that is not, it's more residual when you're working with this type of platform. It's a great tool, but it's, yeah. So if I'm confusing things, let me know. Because trust me, this has been very hard for me to try to move into a platform in order to begin building things collectively. So.
Well, if you don't mind, Randy, I'd like to share something.
Sure, absolutely.
When I first saw you doing what you were doing, I actually just intuitively had a few things that I personally have access to in terms of tools that might make the process easier for you. So this might be something that I'll kind of contact you directly outside of the conversation. I don't want to take up any time about something that might not be directly about what we're building, but just putting it out there that there might be a few things that could help make it easier for you to kind of get some stress off and to make it just more, the word I just want to use is like systemize things, So when we're here to build, we build, or if we're here to learn a specific thing, we learn the specific thing. And then there might be a few tools that I can provide for you that can help you deal with other stuff in the background, so you don't have to worry about doing that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, I like all of you, certainly. I mean, I've been going through a lot of physical things, and some people are not, are aware of that. Some people are not aware of that. But I mean, it's been very, very, very difficult for me, and I'm not going to play it down in any manner because it's been extremely trying. And like I mentioned, I was hospitalized 5 times last year. Okay, so it's I'm still here.
Yay!
So, I'm tenacious, and I don't want to babble about this, but just to say I'm good to be here. I'm good to leave. Put it that way, So there's an aspect of that I don't really comprehend that much. So I can't pretend that I do, so I have to let go. Right. And just finding myself in the moment, like we all, at least I would think that we all desire to be in the moment and to know just clearly You know, we don't have to think, we're just in that space, right? And I'm in that space more than I'm not, you know. There's been contending times for sure, but if I may say something about what we were talking about before, about letting go, how powerful letting go is, because when you let go, what I find within me, what I mentioned before, the idea of neutrality, which I would refer to as being Manu energy, if you were to look at it associated with Keylontic science or something of that nature. I think of it as Manu energy because when you're looking at the Unicide, that's a buffer field. It's another name that's given for it. So it allows for neutralization. And so letting go is really kind of like a process of, for me, that neutralization. And it may come with certain thoughts, like I don't care, but that's defined on how you define what I don't care. What I don't care means to somebody else doesn't necessarily mean to somebody else that's using it, if you know what I mean.
I like the word
So,
unattached.
yeah.
Like
Well,
rather than
whatever.
because I don't care sounds like it's from a negative term.
Yeah,
but
that's
like
a connotation.
unattached.
Yeah, it's a connotation that's applied to people's definition and what they think it may be. For me, I don't care means I don't care for it. I have no care, so that means I have no attachment. Okay, that's my definition of the term. So that's how I refer to it as an energetic expression. Basically, what we're talking about is an energetic release. So whatever word, that's the reason why I said whatever word you use, because we use a word, whatever it is, and ever allows for that immediate disconnect, so to speak, is what you use. And that's for whatever, whatever works for anybody. But for me, I'll say that, and it's interesting, the idea of words. Words here are, again, is attached to mathematics, which is really truly not mathematics here. It's a twisted command code that has underlining Talmud to it. In other words, it's spell oriented. So it's really goes back to the intentions, regardless of the word. We can reconform the energy of the use of the word through our intention. That's another important factor. So, yeah, we're here to restore the natural order. What other reason why would we be here? It just seems to me that's really the big picture, isn't it? So, I mean, because how many thousands of years have this stuff had gone on? And as Brian was talking about the idea of suffering, something that's really close to my heart and things I've suffered in this lifetime and seen, suffering and sacrifice benefits nothing. Because if you look within this world, how within centuries and millennia, how it's been just repeating itself over and over and over and over again. That stuff okay, we're done. It's sort of like bypassing the medical technology that's being withheld that should be accessible, right? It's like, okay, let's go to the source for all things. Well, we don't have to deal with any of that agenda and all that political mumbo jumbo and the intention that's behind that in the agendas. Forget all that. We knew what it was when we jumped into this. We're not here to entertain that. That's for sure. We're here for what we're supposed to be doing, and we have the power. We just need to harness it. And anybody want to talk about going out of the body or anything? Because I did post that little thing that I did in Patreon. If anybody has taken a look at it, I don't know. Please access everything and download it if you can, even if you don't use it right away or whatever, just so you have it. Sorry, Brian, I just wanted to get that out there because, and if you can think of anything else that you may want, if you go to my website, I think there's a link to my website, should be from Patreon in there. If not, I will post it in here in this chat. Okay, not right now, but I will post it here so you can always access it here. And go in there and look. And if you can't download any of this stuff, because it's all, you should be able to download. If you have a computer, you can download it. Phone, you have to jump through hoops. But if you can't access it, I will start posting stuff in Patreon so people can get access to it. So whatever you may need, whatever that may be, if I can help provide it, you just got to ask me. So, and if you do ask me, make sure you clearly ask me what it is, because I have plenty of people come to me and they ask me for things and they don't tell me really what it is. And I'm going, I don't know. So I send them to my website or something because I don't really know it because, so sorry, but I needed to say that because I've had quite a few people come to me and they don't ask me directly for something, what it is that they're really looking for. And they just kind of generally ask me for stuff. And I'm going, I did that once where I sent everything to one person and they were just like so overwhelmed, so please let me know what you want. And then I'll try to, if I can provide it, I will. If I don't have it, I'll try to find it. How about that even? So any rate, enough of my rattle prattle. Brian, you were going to say something?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely interested in going over this process for the out of the body experience. I haven't read through this as of yet. The only out of body experience that I remember is I was taking a course, an energetic course, and they did a practice called, it's an acronym called VELO, which stands for Voluntary Energetic Longitudinal Oscillation. So you're basically moving the energy up and down your body, and you're standing still and you're moving your energy up and down your body for a matter of time, and then pulsating outwards and then inwards, and then you're doing a whole big bomb. And this clears your energetic field. You could actually feel the areas which are more dense, and you could start feeling them just loosening up. It was pretty awesome. And I recall when I was really trying to recall my out of body experiences, I was sleeping at a cot in my house, and I woke up and I said, "Oh well, I'm up." And I started getting off the cot. As I was laying down, I started getting off the cot, but I couldn't get up. And all of a sudden, I looked around and my body was down there. And then I got freaked out and I went right back in and I woke up. And it works. It freaking works. So I'm excited to start implementing this along with that other technique, the VELO, and see.
That's interesting that you would talk about that, because I have two aspects or one particular technique that's very much like what you just said, because all techniques work. It's just what works for you, really. But the biggest problem that we have is the fear processing, that done first. So there's a lot of focus on fear processing and also visualization and imagining and seeing, kind of rehearsing it throughout the day. If you're going to really do it, you have to put it. I haven't really started doing it because I'm focusing on my health and what's been going on with that. I can't really give the energy to it, but when I can, I will. But I know, because of the way that I put together and I understand, I've been out of the body before, but not orchestrated. You know what I mean? It wasn't something I deliberately, consciously did. I did my consciousness, and there's a difference between like astral travel and getting out of the body. It's not the same thing because you're working with different aspects of energy. And usually when people are referring to that, normally astral travel, at least from what I've heard people talk about and what I've experienced, it's not the same thing as getting out and being your soul self, where everything's physical. I mean, it's like you and I talking right now, that type of thing. It's very clear. It's not hazy. It's not fuzzy. I've been out of the body where it's been hazy and fuzzy, but I remember it clearly what it was. And I was with somebody else at the time, that was in the same room, same house. Okay. Here. And they don't remember it, but I did really. And then when I was back into the body, that was through my astral. Okay. That was experience was because when I went back in the body, it was like I was back in the body. It was like so disappointing. It's like, what am I doing in here? You know, it's like waking up in the body. You like what you? I don't know. I thought you were going to go down this route where I woken up in the body and didn't know, or should I say, maybe the word woken up is not the right word, but I became consciously aware in the body. Okay, while it was still in stasis. I use the word stasis because I remember what it felt like. You couldn't move the thing. The thing is just like it's dead, but live in stasis. So hence the word, that's the reason why people don't refer to that as stasis, but that's the way I related to it because of my experience within it. But there was times where I woke up in it, so to speak, to use that expression, and I heard this sound. It was like, there's an animal in the room. It's like, yeah, it's called Randy, this thing here. It was funny as all could be, And then there was times where I'm trying to, it's like, I try to get out and I couldn't get out. And I'm going, where am I at? You see, it's all that, and so I end up waking up the body and it's like, oh, wow, dang it. Did it again. But see, I wasn't preparing myself for that. What we're talking about is preparing yourself. So this is throughout the day, right? You're conditioning yourself. You're visualizing. You're doing a lot of different techniques. You're doing fear processing, where you go inside and you feel, and you isolate that the aspect that's going on. It's all laid out in the PDF, but where you start to process and heal and restore. And so when you actually get out of the body, you're not getting out of the body for the sake of getting out of the body. You're getting out of the body purposely for an intended purpose. Yeah. Now, it's mapped out. It's like, where do you plan on going? Well, realize this. This is so important. I don't have this in the PDF, but I'll just mention this. People think that you have to go to some other beings to get information. You don't. You access it through yourself. You ask yourself for it. I do mention that in the PDF. You ask yourself. You don't ask anything else. And if you know that part of this within the workshop here, or gathering as it would be, is to map out where you're going. It's like if you go on a trip, right? If you've never been there before, you got to know where you're going, right? So it's the same thing. If you get out of the body, where are you going? Where are you going? What are you going to do? So it's all process. Go back to that word been, religiously using here, but it's true. It's all process. You got to condition and so on and so forth. Anyhow, anybody else? Go ahead. I'll stop talking.
When you said, oh, go ahead.
Was Axel going to say something?
No, I was just going to say that Brian looked like he had something you wanted to mention earlier.
I'm sorry. But I thought I seen Axel. Anyhow.
No, I just had a question because when you're describing map out, not only does that mean having what our intentions are, but how do we know where we want to go to when is it a different realm or?
There you go. Okay. Now there's different aspects to this. So I'm going to primarily two. Okay. There's more to it, but this is basically what it measures to. Your intention, the things, your own reality field that you can create. That's one. Okay. The other is that which is established, certain aspects within the field, accessing your records, that type of thing. You don't have to go to a very specific place for that. However, there is a specific place for that. You can access that as long as you can hold your energy, as long as you can hold it. See, there goes again with the process. You have to condition yourself. Even being out of the body, you got to recondition yourself to be able to hold the information. So how much you can hold depends on how you're able to condition, how long you're able to condition yourself. So it's a process again, right? So, but if I plan, okay, I'll try to be oversimplistic here. If I'm going to Los Angeles and I've never been to Los Angeles and I don't have a car, which is all true, But no, the Los Angeles part's not true. But I need a form of transportation to be able to go there, right? I have to be able to go there. And then I have to have it mapped out. And if it takes me 3 years to do it, I'm just saying, okay, I'm just, that's what it takes for me to get there. Okay. But my goal remains the same. My intention remains the same. Okay. So when you're getting out of the body, like for me, I wrote a song. See, the thing of it is for me in music, it's about manifesting reality. It's a reflection of my self. I have one particular tune that I had written, well, not tune, but it was originally was a tune, but it's called Emerald Shore. It's a place that I created. It's a place. It exists. It's my realm that I created. Okay. I know how to get there. You know how I know how to get there? Because then I know what it is. It goes back to intention. So you get out of the body as an example in that regard. And you want to access your records. Okay. My incarnations, my reason for being here, yada, yada, yada. All right. You tell yourself, this is what you want. You got to be very specific about your intention, because what you intend is what you manifest. When you get out of the body, it's either an act or a fact, right? I mean, it's not like here, it's molasses, you're swimming through molasses, everything takes forever to get done, so to speak, or, you get it with what I'm saying. But you get out of the body, that's not how it works. Or within your higher ability or abilities, it's either an act or fact. So whatever you're thinking will manifest through intention. Okay. So all this is being planned out before you leave. It's like the going to Los Angeles. I am planning the trip. Time I get there, I know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So it's a process. So I would recommend, encourage everybody to want to access their own personal records and their own personal intention. And let me add to that quickly. Those who observe things outside of this, they look and they can see what's going on. The difference between that and what's going on here is that you have boots on the ground. You're the one that's really calling the shots in regard to your soul self incarnation. You can rewrite the script. It's like, this isn't working. They don't know that. You know that. Why? Because you got boots on the ground. So you're calling the shots with that. So you can rewrite the script. And so if you get out, you go, okay, my intention, part of that was this. Well, that's irrelevant to what I'm doing down here now. So that doesn't apply. But ultimately, you're looking to bring back the ability to manifest according to your higher faculties here, right? Like if you know how, first, okay, let's look at the manifest template and look at the Cathar and looking how energy works and how it functions on a natural order. Having that understanding here is important, but what's more important is being able to facilitate it. So when you see somebody and you know that they're sick, you can see and you can bring that energy into that and regenerate them. We don't need med beds. We just need access to our higher faculties and be able to hold the energy in these bodies. But the only way that we're going to hold energy in these bodies is by transmuting it. Personally, I'm just going to say this. I'm not here to ascend. I'm not. That's a byproduct. I'm here to serve, change things, right? So I can hold a body here and I can hold also a body in harmonic universe too at the same time. Ultimately, that's really what I want to do. I don't know if I'll be able to do it, but I don't want to say that because that starts creating my field. So I'm just saying this is my intention. This is the rightful order of things, right? So planning, all this is a process, every bit of it, it's all about intention, every single bit of it. So it's aligning your attention with yes or no, and now you know what I mean by yes or no. Just being really clear. Yeah. So,
Harmonic Universe 2, is that where you go to
well, people refer
rectify
to
these
the,
things?
well, one of the things that I heard early on within Keylontic science was everybody was talking about activation of the 12-strand DNA.
Mhm.
That ain't possible. How is that possible when it's supposed to be incremental? And it can only be incremental. If you were to receive all that energy in your body at one time, you think it would transform it? Are you kidding me?
Why? Yeah.
It would fry it.
Wow.
It would actually cause the particle to basically split and fragment. It can't handle it. It has to be incremental. And plus, you're going one stage at a time anyhow, you know? What, are you going to become an avatar all of a sudden? You don't even remember what that was. You haven't even got out of the body yet. You know, how is that even possible? It's not. It really isn't. There's aspects of yourself that's already there, but we're talking about obviously this, subdivision of soul self here, right? So if we're here to transform this place, then it's really about being here within this reality field until, you feel within yourself, okay, I'm finished. I've done what all I'm going to do. Time to move on. And then you just drop the body and you go, or transform it. And if, again, to mention the idea what I talk about holding a body in both places, there is beings here within this world that are doing that. You don't know too much about them because they can't be on the radar. There's too much opposition here, So anything that I realized for myself in regard to spiritual warfare, which I've had plenty of experiences with that, boots on the ground means keeping everything under the radar. Do not fly in enemy territory. Create a movement that gets slow moving where, progress where it doesn't get whole lot of attention taken to it. And the people that are part of that movement keep it low key and know how to protect things spiritually so that it can be effective. Because once it reaches a certain level of mass, you can't turn it around. It now has the momentum. And that's really the idea. So, and this is again for the benefit of all life. And I say this every time I talk about this is the reason why is because this is part of the protection. I'm creating a field when I say that, and I can feel it within me. This is for the benefit of all life. So that which is in opposition can't be in opposition to because that is the higher law.
Wow.
You see? So it's not about taking away from anybody. It's about returning the things that they are to them. So that whatever choice that they make a clear-cut choice. It's not something that they think that they need to do. It's what they know. Either yes or no. Right? So that's what this is really all about. It's demonstration of power, man. For the benefit of all life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reminding people of their power,
Well,
bringing them home to their
demonstration.
power.
Demonstration. Again, demonstration. We're doing a lot of talking here. I am, certainly. But it's demonstration. There's a difference between becoming aware. Most people are aware, honestly. They can feel it within them. It's being able to harness it and being able to be, it's moving from the stage of this illusion to the reality of what they are in power, not in just knowing. Knowing can be very, well, the word knowing is wrong. Believing, because that's not knowing. Believing is different from knowing. What I'm referring to is knowing, not believing, Believing is disempowering. Knowing is accessing, right? So this is a process of accessing.
For being the power.
Yeah, we're allowing for that, for ourselves to let go of this reality field and move into the next, but holding this space here while we're here in order to be able to be of service while we're here, because we feel obviously everybody here has that same conviction on some level or another, So things don't repeat themselves like they have been over the centuries and millennia, just over and over again, same silliness, People coming here and providing beneficial things to change the face of the world, right? And then some clown organization comes along and just steals it from them, or someone sacrifices their life to do something like that, or on some other level, and it just becomes, just a recorded shadow, to use that expression. And there's no momentum. Time for momentum. And so that means there needs to be a smart way to do this. We don't want a whole lot of attention. We don't need a whole lot of attention. I know some people within the spiritual communities pick fights. They think it's funny or something. I don't know what it is, and they should know better. And they, for all intents and purposes, have went through enough within this incarnation to know better. But I don't know why they want to become involved with the political movement and what's going on. No, it has to be transcendent. Greater sense of self has to come in here. It's like time for something new. One of the things that I held for a long time, and I still do to this very point, was writing the new song. What does that mean? It's again a reflection of soul. So what I'm talking about is creating something new, and the song is reflective of the consciousness. So, we're looking to compose a new song, orchestrate how things are here actually in the natural order, the way they are outside of these fields. We're bringing more of ourselves, that is the true sense of self, into the field in order to heal the field. Because the only way that it can be healed is through joy and love. That's how things expand, right? Contention breeds contention, opposition breeds opposition. It's not this, duality is not that. Duality has been utilized as being that. No, it's just, duality is part of the construct's design. If you understand it on a mechanics level, it makes sense because it allows for free will, choice. Otherwise, you're just under a very locked-in system. This is a very expansive system. So, and it's experimental, like all manifest reality systems are experimental. You don't know how it is until life comes into it and manifests within it to see how it, so it's a process. Go back to that word again. It's a process, right? And what's funny is when we go outside of this, we realize what's so funny. Again, what we realize, well, at least what I come to realize, is that a lot of things are sweated here because of the experiences that we have. But the truth is, it's not as hard. We've been conditioned to believe it to be harder than what it is. And that's part of the strength in order to hold that position of control. I mean, looking at a grassroots level movement, that what starts to get momentum. And once it starts getting momentum, you can't really stop it because of the intention that's behind it for the benefit of all life. Come on now. On an intended equal, collective, energetic movement. That's how powerful that's extreme. You can't really change that, because let me just give a reference to what I'm talking about here on a personal level. When something, like when I was in spiritual warfare or in a situation like that, when something would happen, when you're holding a certain space of, in my example, of neutrality, it just stops everything. And not only does it stop it, if it's strong enough, or if it's that intention strong enough, put it that way, in order for it to work, it has to be like 100%. All right. But it neutralizes everything. To use that word again, the energy dissipates and becomes now nothing, from which all the possibilities of everything can now result from. It's like being it's more like being in a void space. And that's the reason why I use the expression of Manu energy, that neutrality. I refer to it as being that because it allows for all possibilities but containing nothing. In other words, it's starting all over again. So when you have the power of the benefit of all life within a collective fashion, what it's going to do is change things as it moves. It's just going to transform it, you know, which means back to what it originally was, you know. Everybody's writing something and I don't have enough time to go to chat to read it. Give me a second here.
I'll kind of go over it if you'd like, my friend.
Yes, if you would like, that would be great.
Yeah, well, I asked a question that apparently had already been erased, which was if anybody knew what George's last name was, the Australian George that we talked about earlier.
Oh, George Casabassilis?
Casabassilis. Do you know how to spell? 10
Don't
points.
ask how to spell that.
Casabassilis. Okay, I'll play around with that. But Axel actually had a really, really awesome question, and I think you should ask that. Because I accidentally jumped in and when he was going to ask it before.
Well, yeah, was there something else that you were going to say?
Here he is.
Yeah,
no,
there was something that you wrote. I can't remember what it has something to do with ascending and going to a place and or okay, there we go. I closed out the screen.
This one was for Axel. I believe that was the last question that was written.
Oh, okay. Sorry guys. I'm looking to go read, but if you want to just come on and just say what you were saying, that would be awesome. That would be better. I would rather hear you say
Sorry
that
about that,
you
guys.
read it. No, I mean, it's just,
Yes.
I'd rather just hear you say it, you know?
Yeah. So the question I kind of had, and it's only because I don't have as much of experience and kind of like, I don't know exactly, still new to this. So I'm still kind of have some questions. I don't mean to go against the general consensus of what you guys are saying here, but the main question was like, are we in this time matrix to change things? Or might we be here to like experience what is in the present moment? Our only free will choice is to be in this present moment, unattached to any specific outcome, but consciously cultivating positivity and gratitude internally, which will in turn align us with a higher timeline of experience. Is this where our power is?
I agree with that. Absolutely. You know, because yeah.
Real quick, that's the first half of the question, and then this is what I'm battling. Or is it an external expression that actually affects the holographic reality field? Like,
well, it's both.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, one of the that's one of the emphasis of getting out of the body is knowing your true intention. I mean, you have the availability to rewrite the script, okay? Because you're boots on the ground. You're the incarnate. You know, the rest of your collective soul, family, quote unquote, or aspect of self, you're the one that makes that choice. You're the one who volunteered. You know, so that's solely up to you. However, all these things affect everything, and knowing that this is an altered reality field that doesn't coincide, it's the antithesis of the original design, okay? So there is going to be conflict. There's a lot of things that it's safe to say nothing really here is normal. So the idea is bringing normality into this incarnation, and these are, you know, some of the processes by which we can do that, right? Okay. And the more that we can support one another or collectively be involved with something that's going to encourage one another, and it's going to amplify the energy. There's a whole lot of factors that goes on when you come together collectively. I mean, obviously, everybody knows that when you try to do things on your own, it can be extremely overwhelming, especially when you're looking to do tasks that have to do with changing consciousness here. It's sometimes it's difficult to hold your space, and you can get interfered with, you know, quite a bit. And I've experienced that a lot, you know. And so it becomes quite burdensome, and it becomes very taxing. So the more that we have of us coming together, the more we have one another's backs, you know, and more
Makes
that
sense.
more the stronger we become with that. You know, there's so many benefits in regard to what we're doing here, that'll become more relevant as we proceed with it, you know. So I
Now,
don't know
is
if,
this
yeah, I'm
is
sorry, go
what
ahead.
we're doing here? Is what we're doing here altogether? Is it a choice of our individual localized consciousness, or is this the path that was already kind of set for us by the higher self, by the original source? And right now we think we're here making these choices, but we're just the higher self observing the paths that all of us are
I,
already
yeah,
living out.
that it's sort of like a feedback loop. Okay. Remember, you having boots on the ground, you have the right to rewrite the script. Okay.
Okay.
And when you do that, you're aligning yourself. If as long as, let me clarify this even more and be very specific in relationship to myself, because that's the best thing I can do is refer to myself in this manner. If my intention is for the benefit of all life, and I'm looking to assist others so that we collectively can be in agreement and walk in agreement according to that, what my initial intention was perhaps was something other than this, but it was included, but not to the degree of what I've been doing now at this point. So I'm rewriting the script. I'm leaving those other things that I could have done or have regret that I wasn't able to do or whatever. That's gone. Okay. Now this is more important. So what I initially would have probably intended to do before when I came in here, wasn't able to do or didn't do. Okay. For whatever reasons, doesn't matter. Point is that timeline shifted, and where I'm at now is what I'm doing. It all has to do with intentions. So I align my attention with my true nature, which is for the benefit of all life. So it creates a feedback loop with the other aspect of self that is within the natural order, or is in line with the natural order. Because when you outside of this, you're the love that you've always been. I know that sounds kind of goopy to people, but goodness gracious, when you reconnect with that, it's what holds everything together. Literally, it's what holds the entire creation together. That is the intention from which the creation was made. So when you align yourself with that here, it creates a feedback loop, and immediately, the connection is made, and the energy flows in order for you to be able to do what you're doing here.
Okay.
And one of the big things for me, just as a footnote, when I lost my voice, it was huge for me because that's what kept me stable. That's what allowed me to renew, energetically relive. Transformation was taking place with that. And when I would do something here and there, the room would be affected. Outside, I'd have beings dancing in my backyard that my next door neighbor, that literally light beings, that was recorded on her camera. And she came up to me and she didn't know what this was. See, when that happened to me, when I lost my voice, dude, I was severely attacked, tremendously attacked. Because it was like, so to speak, my salvation. Okay. It's what helped me hold space, not only hold space, but create space and extend it. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
our intention and what we can do and what we can do in the moment should always be adhered to within our spirit. It's like, don't ever put off something. Hear that expression? Don't ever put off something that you can do now, tomorrow. Yeah, don't do that. Don't put it off. Do it all, even when you'll receive the energy. If it's right, if it's something that you know to do, okay, if you're tired, it doesn't matter. Do it and you'll receive the energy to do it. And afterward, you'll probably get tired again, but then you can go sleep or whatever. Okay. But be in the moment as much as you can and be responsive and receptive to that,
Mhm.
If it means creating something out of nothing, you have no idea what you're doing. You're just putting your intention forward and your energy, you feel it, and you get an idea of what it might be, or it's hard for me to summarize this, but point is that if you're led with that feeling, whatever it is, and it seems like the only way that you're going to manifest it is to actuate the energy, is to begin it. When you begin it, there's an interesting thing about that. When you begin it is when that co-creative aspect takes place. See, that's free will. You have to align yourself with with what you're doing. And if it's the part of you is going, oh, but I don't want to do it, yada, yada, just because of this, or you have this conflict within you. It's when you release that to where you can step forward. What you're doing is you're meeting it halfway, and what happens is it starts to connect, and then you have the energy to be able to do it. And you don't, for my case, a lot of times won't really know what I did until I look at it again at another point. I just know that I needed to get that much down, and once I got that, okay, it stops. Okay, that's as much as I can do now. I'm done. But I started it, and then I come back the next day or whatever it is, and I look at it. It has to be rather soon for me. Within a couple days or so, I have to look at it again. When I do it, then I see it for what it is. And then when we look at it again, I see it for more of what it is.
Mhm.
And then I'm able to expand it, develop it, yada, yada, yada. But you get the point with what I'm saying here. It's important to be in the moment, which not because we can think ourselves out of it. We can use the energy to think about it rather than doing it, is really what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
So just do it. Do it, whatever it is, and put forth the intention. Again, intention is everything.
Now, I agree that intention is good to have, and I have plenty of intentions. I really want to be able to manifest certain intentions and have all this stuff, but this is where I kind of struggle, like being unattached to any outcome. Yes, you have your preferences. Yes, now, do I have the power as with work, not just as the version of myself I am now? If I do different work, elevate, do I have the power to manifest my intention as an act of my own little source, small self-will?
Yeah,
Or is
absolutely.
that just like the truth?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, absolutely. Like I said, you're in a position to rewrite the script, and it's constantly changing. It's always in flux. Okay, always
Okay.
in the moment. So, it's all a process, right? And so it's just a matter of aligning yourself with what your knowing is. When we get past the idea of speculation and belief and in questioning and all that other stuff, and we can be just very singular, then things start to begin to happen. And first, obviously, it begins energetically within you. That knowing grows, which gives you the confidence to move forward that much further. So there's a tendency to intellectualize a lot. And it's important to let that go and go with what you know internally, which doesn't have any. Literally, it doesn't have any way to put it within language or form. It's just a
Gotta
deep
trust
sense of,
yourself.
yeah. Only you can answer that for yourself, so because everybody has that connection and they just need to find it. It's not hard. It's always there. It's just letting go of other things in order for it to come forward.
Okay, that makes
I'd
sense.
like
And
to. Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. Well, I wanted to jump onto that question that you had, Axel, and also just to state as an intention, since Randy mentioned intentions a few times, and we've had a couple conversations around practical tools and demonstrating power. This is my focus at the moment, and that's why I've mentioned a few times that I want to keep things really simple, because for me, it's like I spend a lot of time in my mind, and a lot like nothing really came from it. And I laugh because like maybe down the line there's going to be like, oh, I needed to think about that or focus on that at that period. But like I kind of caught myself recently where I had a series of ups and downs, and I came to a quote unquote down point, and I just had to kind of realize, all right, maybe I'm just making things way too complicated for myself. And when I let that go and just kind of said, look, I'm willing to do whatever I need to do to kind of learn how to master my reality. I attracted really interesting kind of teachers into my place, and teachers that had demonstrated things using the tools and had the same intentions that I needed to see in alignment before I was willing to kind of jump on board. And so as an intention that I'd like to share with you guys, I'm currently doing a program. And for me, I literally the last few days, I kind of said, look, I'm cutting everything out of my life to keep it simple. Rather than focus on 1,000,001 things, I'm going to focus on something that's going to assist me with growing as a spiritual being, as an individual, and also something that allows me to create here and to live a life with resources. Because, for whatever reason, like if we all believe that we are these beings, right? We've come from this space. We are part of this cosmic construct, this cosmic infiniteness. Why the fuck should I have any type of lack while I'm here? Like,
Yes.
none of us should. It's
Yes,
ridiculous. And it's happened to us for a reason, but it's like, Yeah, we're gonna change that shit because it makes me angry that people like Randy are going through what he's going through. All of us have had our own stuff they're going through, and there's a million others of us that are going through this shit. And it's like, nah, fuck that noise. Like, it really gets me angry. And so I found a guy that's literally a billionaire that created businesses and sold businesses using quantum principles because he is a physicist by trade, but he's also an occultist. And for me, I was like, okay, this dude firstly actually did what he needed to do to prove that it worked multiple times before he actually decided to teach it. And so I'm saying all that to say that all the things that I'm learning, I'm more than happy to share, but I'm also going to be happy to share these people so that what we can do is as part of this, because I'm only halfway through the program and I'm already feeling a change in my life, in my field. But I see such an alignment with what you're teaching, Randy. And I really feel, and I can't say this to be sure because I don't fully know what you're teaching, Randy. I'm beginning the process here, and I don't fully know what he's teaching. But a lot of what he's already said is like literally projecting yourself into another dimension and creating what you want to see here, there, because by the law of resonance, it has to arrive here. And that sounds cool, but this dude like he's literally worth over $1 billion. So it's like, okay, like he's proven it. And I'm sure there's a lot of different nuances to what he's saying, and I'd be happy to share that. But like, as I said earlier, I'm trying to simplify what I'm focusing on. One is for my literally the resources to live the life I want to live here without any impedance and to assist the people I want to assist and do the work that I want to do. And the second one is to grow and evolve and to develop as a being so that I can access more things. And with that newfound access and information, then I'll have more of an idea of what to do with the resources that I'm here. And so that's why I simplified it to working with this and with this group and with Randy and with everything you're doing here. And then to focus on this one thing called the transformation experience with this guy, Trevor Blake. And so I say all that to say that, one of the questions you asked about was, and Randy kind of already spoke on this, but like whether or not it's free choice or if we're here with like things are planned out, I feel like at the end of the day, the one thing that I know I can control is how I interact with the morphogenetic field around me. And if I just decide to act, go ahead, Randy. Both of you guys, go ahead.
David's taken off, so
okay.
It's late on that side of the pond.
Okay.
Same with
Yeah.
I was pretty late over there too. So
yeah.
we're going to go ahead and close out after this.
Okay.
If anybody else has something else to say, I don't want to interrupt you. I want you to continue because I'm really loving what you're saying. So, but I just, it is getting kind of late here. So,
Sure.
If you would like to go ahead and finish up and then we can go ahead and say our goodbyes until next time.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll just wrap it up with saying that, I think we've all spoken about different things, but I'd like to just prove these things with everyone here,
Absolutely.
Telepathy, let's practice it together. Let's prove it works. With this abundance, let's create it and be like realistic and objective about it and share this amongst ourselves. That's what I'd like to attend.
Well, this sounds awesome. For me, what I've been doing here, what I'm trying to do, the whole point of what I've been trying to do here in a nutshell, if it could be summarized quickly, is getting us to work with one another. That's really what it's about.
Okay.
I'm flexible. I can go a lot of different ways. And if somebody sees or collectively sees what I've been putting together as being, well, let's do this. Or we'll go ahead and follow your lead, Randy, whatever the case may be, in order for us to advance together collectively to work together so that we can be all on the same table. We can have, use the expression, have one another's back, be our brother and sister's keeper, the whole 9 yards, whatever, how you would want to express that. It is so important, so vital, because again, to emphasize, one of the things I've been communicating is in order for change here to take place, it has to move from word of deed to expression of power. It has to be in demonstration, right? And so that's really the bottom line. It's where with what you're saying. So I really dig in with what you're saying because it's it's right on. The demonstration of power. If somebody, I mean, I was in ministry for 15 years, okay, when I was in Christianity, 27 years in Christianity. I've seen and experienced quite a bit, all right? What was important when it came to ministry, primarily for me, was liberation and providing people's needs. Okay. Giving them groceries and setting them on their porch. They don't need to know it's me. I'd rather not anybody know what I'm doing. That's irrelevant. But meeting the need for somebody, turning on the lights, all these practical things, like, demonstration of power, even to the what would be understood as or received as being miraculous, to the fundamental aspect of just giving somebody and helping them change their tire, or you understand where I'm going with this. It has to cover all bases. And that spreads joy. It creates a domino effect energetically. One of the sayings that I have been saying for a while is, may you be blessed so you can be a blessing. Being of service is, the idea of, we're talking about finances and stuff like that here, the way things, ultimately we don't want any of this to exist, because it's, anytime you have that on a mass level, you have tyrants that control it, right? And that's been the case. But we understand it as being energy, though, right? And it's about directing the energy. And we have the right, that's our birthright, to use that expression, to be able to direct energy. And especially when we're within the context of love and joy, right? For the benefit of all life. Oh my goodness. There's no greater anything than that. That's the greatest of all things. That's it. That's the pinnacle. That's never ending in its an aspect of joy and love and expansion, right? Because that's how all things expand, is through the true expression of the nature of what we really are. That's the reason why I refer to fear as being artificial, because it's not who we are. It's not what is. It's the result of the condition that has been perverted. So we're just here to flip the script and we can do it. It's really, actually, when we get out of this, when we leave, just to say this, we're going to see how easy it was to actually do that. And we might as well just say it's easy now, right? It's like within the last PDF, or the one that posted it, it's all so easy. Even it's like certain things that would do physically, or skills that require, it's not easy. It's really hard. It takes a long time. But I look at it, no, this is easy, because it allows me to get over the hurdle of that wall that blocks, and it can block, right? It's like we get caught up in the possibilities. Oh, no, it is. All things are possible to those that know, not believe. Of course, that's a different word in the Greek. It actually means to know, not to speculate. So anyhow.
And I feel like everybody here has some